Never mind Cecilia. Even the front desk clerk was stunned. She blinked for a couple of seconds before taking the ID from Wyatt. After a quick registration and charging Wyatt's card $45 for the room, she handed him the key card. The two of them walked toward the elevator. A moment ago, Cecilia had been supporting Wyatt. Now, Wyatt's arm was wrapped securely around Cecilia's waist, guiding her forward. The second the elevator doors slid shut, Cecilia shoved him away. "You jerk," she hissed, yanking her purse off her shoulder and smacking him on the back with it. "You lied to me again. I'm never, ever trusting you again. You're such a liar, a big fat liar." Wyatt stood perfectly still, taking a dozen soft blows without flinching. When she finally stopped, he stepped closer, a grin spreading across his face. All right, don't be mad. I didn't mean to lie to you. I was just trying to help Michael cover his ass. You're just blaming someone else." "No, for real," Wyatt insisted. "Michael texted me this morning and asked me to give him an opening tonight. He wanted to confess to Isabelle, and he said he needed to get drunk first or he'd never have the guts." "I don't believe you." "Don't believe me? Ask Isabelle when you get back. Didn't I pull her aside to talk right before we left campus? That's what we were talking about." "Really? Of course. Fine. I'll ask her when I get back. And if you're lying, you can forget about ever." "Ever?" Cecilia started to say, "Forget about ever seeing me again," but it felt too harsh. She stammered for a moment, her cheeks flushing before she finally finished with, "You can forget about ever kissing me again." The words had barely left her mouth before Wyatt pulled her into his arms and planted a soft kiss on her forehead. Cecilia squirmed, trying to break free, but she was no match for him. The moment his arms locked around her waist, she was trapped. "Well, I've already kissed you now," Wyatt chuckled. "So what are you going to do about it?" "You're shameless." He kissed the tip of her nose. "You're a jerk." He kissed her cheek. "You pig." Cecilia seemed to guess his next move. She turned her head aside, pressing her lips together to hide them. "Don't go back to the dorm tonight, okay?" Wyatt whispered, his lips brushing against her ear. The warmth of his breath sent a blush creeping all the way down her neck. "No," she said, tucking her lips away again. Wyatt gently cupped her chin, his thumb and forefinger applying the slightest pressure to her cheeks. Her mouth popped into a perfect pout. He leaned in and captured her lips. After only 2 rounds of his assault, Cecilia's defenses crumbled completely. Down the hall from the elevator, they entered the hotel room. Cecilia tossed her purse onto the cabinet by the door and sat down on the edge of the bed, still pouting. Just then, Wyatt's phone rang. It was Leo. "Yo, Wyatt, what's going on over there?" "I'm back at the hotel." "What about Michael? You said he was going to confess to Isabelle tonight." "No idea. You guys left, and I left right after. If I'd stuck around, he'd never have been able to say anything. So what should I do now?" "Hang on," Wyatt said. "I'll text Isabelle and see if they need a ride. They might be heading back together, and you might need to go pick her up." "All right, I'll wait for your call." After hanging up, Wyatt sent Isabelle a couple of quick texts. She was already on her way to Michael's place. "He's still faking it?" Wyatt typed. "You have no idea." Isabelle texted back. "He's doing his best impression of you. He's leaning on my shoulder right now. Call Leo when you're heading back. I already told him he's on pickup duty for you." "Got it." With his phone calls and texts finished, Wyatt walked over to Cecilia. "See? I told you. I was just playing wingman for Michael." She just huffed. Wyatt knelt on the floor in front of her and took both of her hands in his. "Still mad? How about you bite me? That'll make you feel better. You'd better mean it. Hold out your arm." To her surprise, he did exactly that, offering his forearm to her. And Cecilia, true to her word, opened her mouth and bit down. It actually hurt a little this time, but Wyatt didn't make a sound. When she let go, she saw a perfect bright red ring of teeth marks on his skin. She immediately started rubbing the spot. "Does it hurt?" "Yeah." Now she was the one who felt bad. "Then why didn't you say anything?" she asked, her voice thick with guilt. "I thought it didn't hurt." "It's fine. It'll be gone by morning," he said with a smile. "My car is with Leo, and he has to go pick up Isabelle later. If you want to go back to the dorm, I can have him make another trip." Cecilia hesitated. Wyatt seized the opportunity, raising his hand in a solemn vow. "I swear, the most I'll do is hold you while we sleep. I promise I won't try anything funny. If I do, I hope I turn into a puppy. That's what you said last time." "Okay, new oath. If I don't keep my word, then may I walk outside tomorrow morning and get hit by a—" Before he could finish, Cecilia clamped her hand tightly over his mouth. She glared at him, her voice a fierce command. "Don't you dare say things like that." Wyatt nodded obediently. The room fell quiet for a moment. Then, Cecilia stood up, slipped into the hotel slippers, and walked into the bathroom to shower. Wyatt played on his phone, his mind elsewhere. When Cecilia emerged, he quickly went in after her. The scent of her body wash filled the bathroom as he twisted the knob, letting the hot water wash over him. When Wyatt came out of the bathroom, the main room lights were off. Only a single pendant lamp hanging from the ceiling over the bed was on, casting a dim, yellow glow that created a soft, romantic mood. After drying his hair, Wyatt walked to the bed, gently lifted the covers, and slid in. What do you think Michael and Isabelle are doing right now? I know you're not asleep. Stop faking it. If you don't say something, I'm going to get fresh. Ugh, you're so annoying. Why are you sleeping all the way on the edge of the bed? I already made a vow. You still don't trust me? Nope. Okay, but just to be clear, a little cuddle doesn't count as getting fresh, right? It does. What about a kiss? That counts too. Fine. I'll keep my word. But if you roll into my arms on your own, then you're the one breaking the rules. Don't blame me for what happens next. No, you know I always. Ugh, I'm not talking to you anymore. Whatever. You're going to be in my arms by morning anyway. Why don't we just skip the process? Come here and let me hold you. With a reluctant sigh, Cecilia scooted a little closer. She had just turned on her side, ready to face away from him, when Wyatt's arm shot out, wrapped around her tiny waist, and pulled her tightly against him. There we go, he murmured. Good girl. Oomph. Isabelle watched the driver for the car service ride away on his electric scooter before opening the car door and scanning the parking garage. She had no idea what to do now. When they'd passed by this complex during fall break, Michael had mentioned he lived here, but she had no clue which building or which apartment. And Michael, still committed to his role, was sprawled out in the back seat, the very picture of a drunken mess. Just as Isabelle was starting to panic, a phone rang inside the car. She followed the sound, reached into Michael's pocket, and pulled out his phone. The caller ID read Mommy. Isabelle hesitated. After a moment of internal debate, she answered the call. Michael, are you coming home this weekend? Taking a deep breath, Isabelle braced herself and said quietly, Hello, Mrs. Zhao. On the other end of the line, Susan Zhao sat bolt upright on her sofa. Isabelle, is that you? She asked, her voice filled with pleasant surprise. Michael's told me about you. Why are you answering his phone? Where is he? We were out with some friends for dinner tonight, and he had a little too much to drink, Isabelle explained politely. He's passed out in the car. I had a driver bring him back, but I only know which complex he lives in, not the building. Ma'am, if it's not too much trouble, could you come down? Of course, I'll be right there. Susan hung up and was about to head downstairs, but as she grabbed her keys, she stopped. Wait a minute. Why should I go down? I could just give her the apartment number and the code. Her husband, Walter, had already met the girl and approved. Why not let her bring Michael upstairs? It might even help their relationship along. Susan wasn't going to overthink it. She'd been wanting grandkids for ages. After a moment's thought, she called Isabelle back. Isabelle, dear, here's the thing. I don't drive, and your uncle is still out. I just called our driver, and he won't be able to get here for a while. How about I give you the building number and the door code, and you could just take Michael up yourself? Isabelle pretended to hesitate for a moment before agreeing. Well, okay. Susan quickly recited the address and door code. After jotting it down, Isabelle slipped Michael's phone into her own purse, opened the car door, and called out, Michael, wake up. He just rolled over and started muttering about being thirsty. Isabelle rolled her eyes. If this were Wyatt, she thought, he would have dropped the act by now. But you just have to keep the performance going, don't you? With no other choice, she took Michael's hand and tried to pull him out of the car. The second Isabelle's hand touched his, Michael's heart exploded with joy. Holy crap, her hand is so soft. Fearing she wouldn't be able to pull him, he didn't just cooperate. He actively sat up, stumbled out of the car, and draped an arm over her shoulder, letting her guide him toward the elevator. Isabelle led him to his front door, punched in the code, and the door swung open to reveal a spacious, modern living room. This guy lives in a place this big, all by himself? She thought, pursing her lips. She half carried him to the sofa and dropped him onto it. But she didn't leave right away. She knew his mother would probably be coming over soon, and this was her chance to make a good impression on her future mother-in-law. First, she grabbed a throw pillow and placed it under his head. Then she slipped off his shoes. She did a quick tour of the apartment, found his bedroom, and returned with a comforter to drape over him. Finally, she poured a glass of water and set on the coffee table. After checking to make sure she hadn't missed anything, she noticed a bunch of sticky notes on the fridge. She found a pad and a marker in a drawer, scribbled a short message, and finally let herself out. Michael squinted, peeking through one eye. Once he was sure she was gone, he shot up from the sofa. Looking at the pillow, the blanket, and the glass of water, his affection for Isabelle skyrocketed. It wasn't just a crush anymore. He was completely in love. He picked up the note from the coffee table. In neat, elegant handwriting, it said, "Dummy, no more drinking for you." In the bottom right corner, she had drawn a little smiley face. Michael was so moved, he almost started to cry. Oh my God, how can a girl this perfect exist in the world? About half an hour later, Susan arrived. She opened the door to find Michael sitting on the sofa, grinning like an idiot. I thought you were drunk, she said, frowning. Michael had heard the entire phone conversation in the garage. I only had a few beers. It takes more than that to get me drunk, he said with a grin. I was faking it. Faking it. Susan's expression shifted to one of impressed surprise. Well, look at you. My son knows how to chase a girl. Of course. Michael couldn't wait to share his joy. Mom, I like her so much. You have no idea how amazing she is. After she brought me home, she got me a pillow, covered me with a blanket, took off my shoes, and poured me a glass of water. And look, she even left me a note. Susan took the sticky note and smiled. And she just left after doing all that? Yeah, from the sound of it, she seems like a very caring girl. She's the best woman I've ever met. Susan poked his forehead playfully. You're going to be one of those men who forgets his mother the second he gets a wife. Michael immediately hugged her. Never, he said with a goofy laugh. All right. I was worried you were actually drunk, so I came to check on you. Since you're fine, I'll head back. Now that you found a girl you like, be bold and go after her. I'll always support you. Don't worry, Mom. She already agreed to be my girlfriend. I'll do my best to make you a grandmother within 5 years. 5 years? Isn't that a bit long? Mom, Michael laughed. She's still in college. 3 years is plenty of time. Okay, I get it. You should go home. After seeing his mother out, Michael returned to the sofa, picked up the note, and carefully placed it inside a book. He set the book on his nightstand, took a quick shower, and fell asleep with a massive smile plastered across his face. It was a peaceful night. A sliver of dawn pierced through the gap in the curtains, gently tracing the contours of the room. Outside, the streets were silent, save for the occasional distant car horn. Wyatt slowly opened his eyes, feeling refreshed after a deep sleep in the soft, comfortable bed. Cecilia was still curled up in his arms, though her position had shifted during the night. She had fallen asleep with her back to him, but now she was facing him, her head buried deep in the crook of his chest. One arm was wrapped around his waist, and one leg was draped over his, clinging to him like she were a giant teddy bear. Though fully awake, Wyatt didn't move. He didn't want to break the perfect stillness of the moment, so he just lay there, watching the seconds tick by. He wasn't sure how much time had passed before Cecilia's eyes fluttered open. It was late October, and a crisp autumn chill had settled in, making the mornings and evenings feel cool. But as Cecilia woke, she felt nothing but an extraordinary warmth in the cocoon of blankets. As the fog of sleep lifted, she became acutely aware of her scandalous sleeping position. She tried to pull her leg back, but the slight movement was enough to alert Wyatt. You're awake? Cecilia froze. Since there was no one else in the room, she decided to just stay put. She hummed, her eyes still closed, her head resting on his chest. What time is it? Still early. Not even 7 yet. Wyatt glanced at his watch before snuggling her even closer, their bodies pressed together under the covers. Cecilia's heart hammered against her ribs. She didn't dare move. Part of her knew this was a dangerous game that would eventually lead to trouble, but the other part reveled in the feeling of being in his arms. It was the best sleep she ever got. His embrace felt like it had some kind of magic in it. Wyatt rested his chin on the top of her head. Sleep well last night? He asked, already knowing the answer. I didn't even need to ask. I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and as soon as I got back in bed, you burrowed right into me. When I moved, you made this little grumbling sound like you were annoyed. He shouldn't have said that. The moment he did, Cecilia's face burned with embarrassment. She pinched his side sharply, a silent warning to shut up. I kept my word last night, right? No funny business. So, don't I deserve a little reward for that? Her heart thumping, Cecilia asked in a small voice. What kind of reward do you want? She knew if she said no, he'd just pester her relentlessly. If she couldn't escape, she might as well face it head on. Consider it payment for letting him sleep here, she thought with a secret smile. I want to kiss you, he said immediately. How many kisses? You tell me. No way. You always cheat. One kiss turns into forever. Then what's your proposal? We'll go by time. Okay, 10 minutes. No. 5. No, Cecilia haggled. 3 minutes tops. Deal. 3 minutes it is, Wyatt agreed instantly. Hearing how quickly he accepted, Cecilia immediately regretted it. Is 3 minutes still too long? But Wyatt wasn't about to give her a chance to back out. He dove under the covers, but just as he was about to make his move, she kicked him away. Seriously, he whined. We had a deal. Go brush your teeth first. It's fine, I don't mind. Well, I mind, Cecilia retorted with a pout. Oh, so you're already tired of me? What's it going to be like in the future? Wyatt yanked the comforter off her, wrapping her up in it like a burrito. He started patting the blanket cocoon rhythmically. Say you're sorry. Never. They were just messing around. Wrapped in 2 thick layers of blanket, Cecilia couldn't feel a thing. You keep hitting me, and I'll tell your mom on you next time we go home, she said smugly. Whoa, we're playing that card. Wyatt immediately folded. He knew what his mother was like. If she heard a complaint from Cecilia, he'd be lucky to escape with his skin intact. Huh, scared now, aren't you? Cecilia gloated. If you're scared, then let me go. Nope, Wyatt said, his bravado returning. He draped himself over the burrito Cecilia, looking down at the little head peeking out, and leaned in for a kiss. Cecilia tried to dodge, but her body was pinned. With Wyatt's weight on top of her, she was completely immobile. I'm getting mad. I'm serious. You're so heavy. Wyatt just chuckled, planted a quick, light kiss on her forehead, and then hopped out of bed. You already kissed me once, Cecilia called out. That's 1 minute deducted. You only get 2 minutes later. How is that fair? I don't care. Cecilia rolled over, and the comforter unwrapped and flattened onto the bed. She stood up, slipped on the hotel slippers, and expertly used a hair tie from the nightstand to pull her messy hair into a high ponytail before heading into the bathroom. Hearing her footsteps, Wyatt, who was already brushing his teeth, squeezed toothpaste onto another brush for her. When she came in, he handed it to her. Cecilia stood beside him, took the toothbrush, and then playfully hip-checked him out of the way. Move over, it's crowded, she laughed. Wyatt immediately returned the favor, bumping her aside with his own hip. They jostled back and forth for a bit before Wyatt surrendered. All right, truce. Let's just brush our teeth. When are you heading back to campus today? Wyatt shrugged. After lunch, probably. Why? Gonna miss me? Not at all. I'm done washing up. So, are you playing dumb? Fine. I still have to wash my face. I'll do it for you. Wyatt took the towel he just used, gave her face a few random wipes, then bent down and scooped her up into his arms. What are you doing? I'm not done. Cecilia shrieked, her legs dangling and kicking, sending her slippers flying. Wyatt tossed her onto the bed. She immediately scrambled back toward the headboard. As he crawled onto the bed and lunged for her, she instinctively lifted a leg, planting her foot squarely on his stomach to stop his advance. Wyatt grabbed her ankle, a wicked grin on his face. You know, our deal was for a 3-minute kiss. But we never specified where I get to kiss you. Cecilia's eyes widened as she watched him slowly lower his head. She tensed her toes, squeezed her eyes shut, and yelped, No, you can't. That's gross. Michael woke up feeling refreshed and invigorated. The first thing he did was text Isabelle. Did you bring me home last night? He typed, playing dumb. Nope, she replied, playing right back. Michael laughed. Of course it was you. Why would she deny it? He could picture her smug little smile as she typed, and he found himself grinning like an idiot. But no one else knows where I live except you. And you left me a note. If it wasn't you, who was it? If you knew, why did you ask? Just confirming. Isabelle didn't reply. She knew there was more coming. Sure enough, Michael's real reason for texting was to confirm if she had actually agreed to be his girlfriend during his drunken confession. But since he had faked being drunk, he couldn't just ask directly. I didn't say anything. Word last night, did I? He typed cautiously. Isabelle couldn't help but laugh. This guy was too much. Nope, she teased. Michael, how is that possible? Isabelle, it's true. Michael, no way. I always speak my mind when I'm drunk. Isabelle, well, maybe I just forgot. Michael was starting to panic. You promised you'd be my girlfriend last night. How can you just take it back? Michael, how could you forget? Michael, did I confess to you? Isabelle, I think so. You asked me to be your girlfriend. Michael, and did you say yes? Isabelle, I did, but things said when you're drunk don't count, do they? Michael started typing furiously. Of course they count. I was serious. Isabelle deliberately didn't answer. The silence on the other end was killing Michael. He sent another message. Isabelle, I really like you. Will you be my girlfriend? Please? He added 3 pleading emojis. Isabelle, it doesn't count over text. Saying it to my face is a different story. Michael, okay. I'm on my way now. He leaped out of bed and rushed into the bathroom, phone still in hand as he searched for nearby flower shops while brushing his teeth. But Isabelle, as if reading his mind, sent another text a few minutes later. Don't buy flowers. They look nice, but they're useless. They'll just wilt in my dorm in a few days. Michael felt that showing up empty-handed to confess felt unofficial, and it made him nervous. He wanted everyone to know Isabelle was his girlfriend, so the gesture had to be grand. But her text left him stumped. He thought of the one person who would know what to do, Wyatt. He gave him a call. Yo, Wyatt, I need to ask you something. Make it quick, I'm busy. Isabelle said my confession from last night doesn't count and I have to do it again. I was going to buy her flowers so everyone would know what was happening, but she just told me she doesn't want them because they're impractical. What should I do? Go to a convenience store, buy a huge bag of lollipops, and have a flower shop arrange them into a bouquet for you. That way, you get the grand gesture, and she can share the candy with everyone. Holy shit, you're a goddamn genius. Wyatt couldn't be bothered. He hung up and tossed his phone aside. Who was that? Cecilia asked curiously. Michael. Isabelle's messing with him again. She told him his drunken confession didn't count, and he has to do it all over again. Really? Let's go back to campus now. Why? To watch the show. Since where are you such a gossip? Come on, let's go, let's go. Following Wyatt's advice, Michael ran to a supermarket, bought a mountain of lollipops, and took them to a flower shop. Sir, does this look okay? The florist asked, holding up a beautifully arranged lollipop bouquet. It's perfect, Michael said, beaming as he took it. Thank you. He paid, carefully placed the bouquet in the passenger's seat, and sped toward the music school. Isabelle waited in her dorm, a nervous flutter in her stomach. She knew that after today, she and Michael would officially be a couple. The thought was both nerve-wracking and thrilling. As mature and clear-eyed as she was still a 20-year-old girl who dreamed of a dramatic, whirlwind romance. Just as her imagination was running wild, her phone buzzed. It was Michael. I'm here. Can you come down? Isabelle quickly checked herself in the mirror and, for the first time, hurried out of her dorm room in a fluster. Sophie had noticed Isabelle's odd behavior. The moment she left, Sophie said, "Something's up with Isabelle." "It's got to be Michael downstairs," Ashley added. They exchanged a look and rushed to the balcony. Sure enough, there was Michael, standing below, holding a giant lollipop bouquet. Oh my God, Michael's confessing. Looks like they're making it official. Michael heard them and looked up. When he saw Sophie and Ashley giving him thumbs-ups and encouraging gestures, he grinned. Isabelle walked out of the dorm and saw Michael holding the bouquet. Not yet noticing the lollipops, she said with a hint of disappointment, "I told you not to buy flowers." Michael quickly lowered the bouquet to show her. "They're not flowers. It's just wrapped to look like a bouquet. See? It's all lollipops." Isabelle's face lit up. When did this guy get so smart? Seeing her smile, Michael took his chance. He held out the bouquet, cleared his throat, and said with the utmost gravity, "Isabelle, I like you. I promise I'll be good to you. Please be my girlfriend." The students walking by had already stopped to watch. A small crowd had formed, all of them waiting for Isabelle's answer. Isabelle, however, pretended she couldn't hear, a rare blush creeping on her cheeks. "What did you say? I didn't hear you." Michael knew she'd heard him perfectly. He figured this was a test to see if he had the courage to say those words in front of everyone. So, he took a deep breath and shouted at the top of his lungs, "I said, I like you. Please be my girlfriend." This time, Isabelle accepted the bouquet. But just then the crowd started chanting, "Kiss, kiss, kiss." Neither of them had ever been in a situation like this. Perhaps fueled by the crowd's energy, Michael thought, it's now or never. On a burst of adrenaline, he lunged forward, wrapped his arms around Isabelle, and quickly kissed the corner of her lips. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Not far away, Wyatt sat in his car, a smile on his face. "Rushed all the way here, and we still missed the best part." Seeing Cecilia staring intently at the new couple, he patted her thigh. "What are you looking at?" "Them." "What? You didn't get enough kisses earlier. You want some more?" "I wouldn't be against it." "Huh." Once the crowd dispersed, Isabelle immediately pushed Michael away. For her, their relationship progress bar was only at 25%. A real kiss was at least a 50% milestone. Besides, they hadn't even held hands yet. They couldn't just skip ahead. Michael, not at all offended, was grinning from ear to ear, his wish fulfilled. Just then, Wyatt and Cecilia got out of their car and walked over. Wyatt approached Isabelle, plucked 2 lollipops from her bouquet, kept one for himself, and handed the other to Cecilia. "As the official matchmaker for you two," he said with a laugh, "I think I'm entitled to a couple of these, right?" "Take them all," Isabelle said magnanimously. "I couldn't do that. Prince Michael here worked so hard to get these for you." Wyatt then looked up and waved. "What are you two doing up there? Come down and get some celebratory candy." Coming. A moment later, Ashley and Sophie came running down. Seeing everyone there, Michael suggested, "Hey, why don't we all go grab lunch together?" "Another feast? I'm still full from last night," Wyatt said. He figured Michael was loaded. So, a free meal was a free meal. But, just as he was about to agree, his phone started ringing. It was Chris. A weekend call meant it was about the company. Wyatt stepped aside to answer. Wyatt, when are you heading back? Chris asked. This afternoon. What's up? Good news. Someone contacted us this morning to inquire about the Student Startup Support Initiative. Wyatt sighed. We hired people for marketing. Someone calling in is pretty normal, isn't it? I know, but this wasn't just any student. Stop beating around the bush and just tell me. Chris's voice was full of excitement. The guy's name is David Kong. He's a top student from Stanford. Stanford? Wyatt's interest was piqued. What's his startup project? Something called shared bikes. Shared bikes. Chris was taken aback. Wyatt, why are you so worked up? How could he not be? As someone from the future, he knew exactly what the next big trends were. 2015 was all about O2O services. 2016 was live streaming. And 2017's hottest trend was the sharing economy. Shared bikes, shared power banks, shared umbrellas, shared massage chairs, even shared cars. While some were just flashes in the pan, the shared bike sector had a truly glorious, if brief, moment. Wyatt composed himself. Have Courtside get in touch with him immediately. This project has potential. He already has. Carter said it's a very innovative idea, too. Should I let him know you're also very interested? Yeah, I'll head back after I eat. After hanging up, Wyatt glanced at the time and walked over to Cecilia and the others. It's already 10:30. Cece and I haven't even had breakfast. Have you guys eaten? Isabelle, Sophie, and Ashley all shook their heads. What about you, Prince Michael? Michael smiled sheepishly. I rushed over here as soon as I woke up. I didn't have time to eat. Then let's go eat now. I have some company stuff to deal with anyway, so I'll head back to campus right after. I'll take the bouquet upstairs first. Sophie, where's Leo? He drove your car back to campus after dropping Isabelle off last night. Text him and tell him to get over here. Okay. With a plan in place, they left the dorm and found a diner with a great patio nearby. After they ate, Wyatt saw that Cecilia was about finished, got his car keys back from Leo, and pulled her away. On the way back, Cecilia asked, Is the company stuff urgent? Not super urgent, Wyatt explained, shaking his head. But it's something I need to make a decision on. Cecilia just said, Oh, why the long face? Wyatt teased, seeing her glum expression. Are you going to miss me? Cecilia linked her arm through his and looked down without saying a word. It was a silent admission. Wyatt smiled and ruffled her hair affectionately. 5 days will fly by. I'll be back next Friday, okay? You have to keep your word. Definitely. As they were talking, Wyatt pulled over in front of a boba tea shop. He led Cecilia inside. Buy 2 milk teas, please. The girl behind the counter looked like a college student herself. Sure, she said. Medium or large? Medium is good, Wyatt replied, then asked, What are the sweetness levels for your tea? 30, 50, 70%. Wyatt pulled Cecilia forward. Do you have a level as sweet as my girlfriend? The girl glanced at Cecilia and played along with a smile. Nope, your girlfriend is the sweetest. Cecilia ducked her head, her face burning, and pinched Wyatt's lower back. Wyatt just threw his head back and laughed. After dropping Cecilia off at her dorm, Wyatt drove away. He had planned to stop for gas, as the tank was low when he drove over. But now the gauge showed a full tank. Had I been Leo? As he drove, Wyatt thought that maybe it was time to get a new car. He hadn't put much thought into it when he bought the Mazda, just needing something to get around. But now that the company was up and running, showing up to business meetings and it felt a bit flimsy, he was already young, and, as the boss of an investment firm, he didn't inspire much confidence to begin with. A nice car would at least signal that his financial backing was solid. Plus, the back seat was undeniably small. Even Isabelle had complained about it. It was fine for 2 people, but with a full car, it was cramped. But if he was going to upgrade, he wanted to do it right. Get something really nice and give the Mazda to Leo. The problem was, he didn't have the cash for a high-end car right now. Still got to work hard and make more money, he sighed to himself. Of his current investments, MiHoYo was the real golden goose. Once Guns Girl Z launched next year, his net worth would multiply. And when Genshin Impact came out later, he'd be set for life. The Ink Live project would bring in a decent chunk of cash, but the live streaming industry was brutally competitive. Once platforms like TikTok and others got into streaming, the original players would struggle. He'd have to find the right time to sell after it went public. As for Vivian's lingerie brand, he'd never expected it to become a huge moneymaker, but given its current trajectory, it actually had the potential to become something big. Thinking about his 3 cash cows, Wyatt's heart swelled with anticipation for the future. Meanwhile, back at the office, Carter Liu had already contacted the Stanford entrepreneur, David Kong. They talked for a full half hour. After hanging up, Carter opened his computer and in a new Word document, typed out a title. OFO Bikes Project, Investment Analysis Report. After returning to campus, Wyatt immediately called Carter Liu. Hearing that David Kang's team was short on cash and eager for a deal, Wyatt gave his instructions. We can't sort this out over the phone. Tell him to bring his project proposal to our office. We'll meet in person. Carter had been thinking the same thing. He called David back right away, but being a seasoned professional, he was careful not to sound too eager. Our firm is interested in your project, he said calmly. If you have the time, we'd like you to come to our office so we can hear about your plans face-to-face. David was still just a college student. Though he'd had a few small startup ventures before, this was different. He hadn't expected much when he reached out to see investments, and now that they were interested, he knew this was a golden opportunity. A talented horse is common, but a discerning judge of horses is rare. He quickly agreed, saying he could be in New York on Wednesday. Carter relayed the news to Wyatt, who finally felt a sense of relief. David's coming on Wednesday, Wyatt said to his roommates. If I remember correctly, there's a required class Wednesday morning and an open lecture in the afternoon, right? Sam nodded. Yeah. Then none of you are going to class in the afternoon, Wyatt declared. Everyone's coming to the office. The movie project was handled entirely online by Carter, and the Ink Live deal was done at Apex Capital's office. This is the first time an entrepreneur is coming to us. We need to look like we've got our act together. You know what I mean? I'll give everyone a heads up to be prepared, Chris said. Should I call the e-commerce team over too, to bulk up our numbers? No need for that. If he reached out to us, he's definitely looked us up online. He knows we're a new company. A small team is normal. True. Where's Alex today? Do you even have to ask? He's obviously with Lily. Wyatt thought back to yesterday morning and shook his head. I doubt it. When I left, I saw Lily at the bus stop by herself. Alex was nowhere in sight. What? Chris asked, his interest piqued. You don't think he actually listened to you, tried to hold her hand, got rejected, and they broke up, do you? Sam chimed in. You guys weren't here last night. When Alex got back, he seemed really off. Wyatt just smiled wryly. It's for the best. Better to rip the Band-Aid off now and escape that black hole. Definitely. Alex didn't get back to the dorm until after 7 that evening. Seeing Wyatt, Chris, and Sam all there, he quickly masked the gloom that had been hanging over him all day and forced a cheerful conversation, acting as if nothing had happened. Wyatt and Chris saw right through it, but didn't say a word. The next day, Monday, Wyatt went to class with them, but he only stayed for 45 minutes before slipping out during the break and driving to the office. Alex hadn't really gone anywhere over the weekend. On Saturday, he'd spent the entire day playing League of Legends at a cyber cafe near campus. On Sunday, after his prepaid time ran out, he holed up in the library. After the hand-holding incident, Alex had finally realized he was playing the role of a pathetic simp in his pursuit of Lily. So he decided to stop being so proactive. He had assumed that if he stopped contacting her, she would reach out to him. But for 2 days, it was as if Lily had vanished from his life. Not a single text, and her social media feed was completely silent. He was miserable, a sharp, stabbing pain in his chest. He desperately wanted to vent his frustrations, but his pride forced him to pretend everything was fine. He endured it for 3 days. By Tuesday, he couldn't take it anymore. He decided to find Lily and have it out with her. He needed to ask, "What am I to you?" After lunch, he walked alone toward the women's dorms. But when he got there, he hesitated. He was terrified of asking the question and getting the one answer he didn't want to hear. Just as he was about to chicken out, a blue BMW 5 Series sped up and parked in front of the dorm. Alex glanced at it and instinctively stepped aside, hiding under a large tree by the road. He took out his phone, opened his chat with Lily, and his fingers trembled as he typed a message. "I'm outside your dorm. Can you come down?" He was about to hit send when he happened to look up. He saw Lily, wearing a blue dress, happily walking out of the building. Just as Alex was about to put his phone away and approach her, she walked straight to the BMW. After a brief greeting with the driver, she rounded the car and got into the passenger seat. Alex froze, completely stunned. His first instinct was to shrink back behind a tree. As the BMW drove away, Alex felt like his soul had been ripped out of his body. He slowly sank to the ground, covering his mouth. His throat was raw and sore, and tears welled up in his eyes. He deleted the message he had just typed and started over. Finally, he sent it. "Are you on campus? I want to talk." Lily's reply came quickly. "I'm not. I have something to do today." "Where are you?" "I'll come find you. Let's talk tomorrow." "I don't have time today. Can't you just say it over text?" After reading her message, Alex turned off his phone. He tilted his head back, staring up at the sky, trying his best to keep the tears from falling. Inside the BMW, the young man driving saw Lily texting and asked with a smile, "Who are you messaging?" Lily quickly put her phone down. Oh, just a classmate. You don't have class this afternoon, right? Nope. How about we grab dinner after the movie? Okay. The driver's name was Trevor Connolly. He was a student at a private university nearby. He and Lily had met at a party a few days ago, and they've been in touch ever since. Trevor had asked her out on a whim that morning, fully expecting her to say no, given how cold she had been at the party. He was pleasantly surprised when she eagerly agreed. Lily put her phone back in her purse, then flipped down the vanity mirror. After checking her reflection, she asked, "Is there any tissue in the car?" "Yeah, in the armrest." "Help yourself." Lily opened the armrest compartment. Sure enough, there was a pack of tissues. But next to it, a few scattered Trojan condoms lay in plain sight. Lily froze for a split second, then quickly grabbed a few tissues and slammed the armrest shut, pretending she hadn't seen a thing as she began to fix her smudged lipstick. Ever since he and Isabelle had made things official, Michael had been completely useless at the office. Any free moment was spent texting her, lost in the euphoric fog of new love. On Wednesday morning, a bored Michael texted Wyatt. "You busy?" "Not this morning," Wyatt replied. "So, Isabelle and I are official now. It should be okay if I invite her over to my place, right? If you just ask her directly, your intentions will be way too obvious. You have to give her a reason." "A reason? What kind of reason?" "For example, pretend you're sick at home. Say you have a cold and ask her to bring you some medicine. That way, she'll think, I'm just going over to drop off medicine." Girls will usually agree to that. Wyatt continued, "But if you just ask, want to come hang out at my place? Her first thought will be, if I say yes, I'll seem like that kind of easy girl. You're more likely to get rejected that way. Get it?" Michael typed back frantically, "Holy shit, you're a pro." Wyatt laughed. "Haha, learned something, didn't you?" "Definitely. Speaking of which, I actually need a favor." "Anything." "I have guests coming to the office this afternoon, and I promised to have them picked up from the airport. My car's too basic. It doesn't make the right impression. Can you hook me up with something high-end? PSH, is that all? If you told me yesterday, I could have gotten you a Rolls Royce. It doesn't need to be that fancy. Just something decent. Wait right there. I'm making a call now. I'll have someone deliver 2 Audi A6s to you." Wyatt didn't bother with pleasantries and readily agreed. At noon, while Wyatt and his team were eating takeout at the office, 2 black A6s were delivered. Wyatt took the keys, handing one to Chris and the other to a new analyst, Greg Peters. "You two will be on airport pickup duty for David Kong and his team this afternoon," he instructed. Greg took the key with a grin. "This is the first time I've ever driven a car this nice." "Jessica," Wyatt called out. "What?" "When the guests arrive and we're in the meeting, I need you to come into the conference room and tell me a multi-million-dollar wire transfer has come through and needs my signature." Jessica instantly understood Wyatt's plan. He was trying to play the big shot for these college student entrepreneurs. But since it was for the good of the company, she didn't object. With all preparations in place, everyone got to their tasks. Greg and Chris left at 1 o'clock for the airport. About an hour and a half later, the 2 black Audis pulled up in front of the office building. Chris got out and led David Kong and his 2 partners into the office. "If you've done your research on us, you know our company just started this year, so we don't have a huge staff. But we've already invested in several projects, 2 of which are already profitable, and we've also partnered with Apex Capital on a major deal." Having been around Wyatt for so long, Chris had become a smooth talker. He led the group into the conference room and brought Wyatt and Carter Liu over. "Mr. Kong, let me introduce you. This is our company's founder, Wyatt, and this is our head of investments, Carter Liu." "Hello. Nice to meet you. Please have a seat." Wyatt sat down, feeling a sense of calm as he noticed how nervous David and his partners were. David, meanwhile, was thinking, this boss is so young. He must have some serious backing. I have to seize this opportunity. "Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Liu, this is our project proposal. You can take a look. I've also prepared a PowerPoint, if that's convenient." "Of course." One of David's partners quickly plugged in a flash drive, and the projector screen lit up with the title slide, OFO Bikes, Business Plan. Wyatt's eyes lit up. This is it. Another opportunity has arrived. David's presentation was polished, the content compelling, and his public speaking skills were excellent. He navigated through the slides, explaining his vision for the sharing economy, proving he had a sharp business mind. When he finished, Wyatt was the first to applaud. The others in the room quickly followed suit. David let out a sigh of relief and sat down, finally feeling a bit more at ease. "Your business plan is impressive," Wyatt began, "but I have a few questions." "Please. Have you considered the competition? Have you considered the issue of bike depreciation and damage?" Wyatt fired off several more questions that David couldn't answer. Pressing his advantage, Wyatt continued, "Your business model is simple. If you become profitable, others will definitely copy you. Once there's competition, you don't have much of an edge. The only way to mitigate that risk, as I see it, is to raise more capital as quickly as possible, scale up, and capture a significant market share. Only then can you establish a firm foothold. Hearing this, David quickly realized that the young man before him wasn't just someone with connections. His business acumen was razor sharp. "You're right," David admitted, nodding. "That's why we urgently need capital to expand." Seeing that he had set the stage perfectly, Wyatt asked directly, "How much money are you looking for? And for how much equity?" "We're looking for $200,000 for a 20% stake," David replied. "That's impossible." Before Wyatt could speak, Kloe shook his head. "I've done my research. Your current operations are limited to the Stanford campus. No investment firm would agree to those terms." David had intentionally started high, knowing it wouldn't be easy. He quickly revised his offer. "Our advantage is that we have a complete operational management system and a well-developed app. With funding, we can replicate our model quickly. I'm confident we can succeed. The most I can offer is 25%. "How about this?" Wyatt countered. "I'll give you $250,000, and I want 40%. But I'll sign a separate agreement, guaranteeing I won't interfere with your company's operations. If you can successfully replicate your model and show some results, I can also connect you with other investment firms to help with future funding rounds." The eyes of David's two partners lit up. This was an excellent offer. But David was more composed. He pretended to think for a moment before replying. "I need some time to consider. Can I give you an answer tomorrow?" "Of course." Right on cue, Jessica walked into the office. She and Wyatt played out their little scene, and she quickly left. Wyatt then turned back to David and asked with a smile, "Have you booked a hotel yet?" "Not yet, Chris," Wyatt instructed. "Drive them to a hotel later. And also," he reached into his jacket, pulled out his wallet, and extracted a thick stack of VIP cards for clubs, spas, and high-end lounges that he'd confiscated from Michael. He handed them all to Chris. "They've come a long way. Take my cards tonight and show them a good time. Help them relax." "No problem." Later that night, after leaving a spa, Chris dropped David and his team off at their hotel and headed back to campus. The moment Chris was gone, the three entrepreneurs huddled together. "I can't believe the boss of an investment firm is so young. I bet he's a rich kid." "No kidding. He definitely has connections." "David, what are you thinking?" "If you guys have no objections, I'm going to accept his offer tomorrow." "Of course we should accept. It's 250 grand. David smiled. "It's not just the money that's attractive. I'm more interested in his guarantee not to interfere with our operations. Plus, if we grow, we'll need multiple funding rounds, and he has the connections for that. In business, connections are more important than money." Back at the dorm. "So how did it go? Is everything settled?" Wyatt asked as soon as Chris walked in. "You can count on me. I got them a room at a 5-star hotel, took them out for a steak dinner, and then we went to a legit spa for massages. While they were getting rubbed down, I talk you up like you were the next Warren Buffett. From the looks of it, this deal is in the bag." "Good. But I'm curious, why are you so bullish on this project?" "Because I can see the future, my friend." Chris flipped him the bird. "Get the hell out of here." Just as Chris had predicted, David Kong and his team came to the office the next morning and readily accepted Wyatt's terms. They agreed to sign the official contract on November 1 st. In the meantime, Wyatt would send Kloe to Palo Alto to conduct due diligence. Wyatt already knew how the shared bike story ended. This was an investment he would hold on to forever. 2017 would be the peak of the sharing economy boom, and that's when OFO's valuation would be at its highest. He planned to sell his shares then. If he could exit at the peak, he'd see a return of several hundred times his initial investment. After a few more hours of discussion at the office, Wyatt took them out for lunch. Immediately after the meal, David's team rushed back to Palo Alto. Carter decided he would make the trip that Saturday, planning to also check in on Ink Live in Austin. Sam, hearing this, asked to go along, and Wyatt immediately agreed. Sam had been working hard to learn the ropes, and Wyatt knew this trip was a perfect learning opportunity for him. With another 2 years of this kind of experience, Sam could be a major player, though he still needed to build up his confidence. The bike-sharing deal added another layer of security to the company's portfolio. Wyatt was in a great mood, but his good spirits were shattered by a sudden phone call. "Who is it?" Chris asked, noticing Wyatt staring blankly at his phone. "It's Hannah." Hannah was their class's academic representative. She usually only texted him about class matters. A phone call was unheard of. "Why is she calling you?" Chris asked, raising an eyebrow. Wyatt shook his head, clueless, and answered the call, putting it on speaker. Hannah's frantic voice immediately filled the room. "Wyatt, it's bad. Alex is getting beaten up over by the girls' dorms." "What did you say?" "I said Alex is getting beaten up by some guy." You have to get over here quick. Beep, beep, beep. Chris and Sam shot to their feet at the same time. Without a word, Wyatt grabbed his keys, and the three of them bolted out of the office and raced toward the campus. A crowd had already gathered in front of the women's dorm. Trevor Connolly had Alex by the collar, his face red with anger. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he spat. "Saying I stole your girlfriend? Didn't you hear what she just said? You and her are just friends. Friends, you get it. She never agreed to be your girlfriend in the first place. You're just living in your own fantasy world. Take a look in the mirror. You pathetic loser," he sneered. "I'm telling you, that slap was to teach you a lesson. Don't come looking for trouble." Alex's eyes were fixed on Lily, his expression utterly broken. But Lily just stood by like a bystander, meekly telling Trevor not to hit him, offering no other explanation. On Tuesday, after seeing Trevor drive off with Lily, Alex had been consumed by regret for not confronting them then and there. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. For the past 2 days, he had been lurking around the girls' dorms, and this afternoon, he finally caught Trevor. When he saw Lily come downstairs, Alex had mustered his courage and walked up to them. But Lily's eyes had flashed with annoyance as Alex relentlessly questioned her about her relationship with Trevor. Finally, Trevor had had enough. He stepped forward, draped an arm around Lily's shoulders, and looked down at Alex with contempt. Alex froze. He had been close with Lily for so long, but they had never had that level of physical contact. The memory of that brief, rainy day hand-holding at the cafeteria flashed in his mind. "Who is he? Who is he?" Alex yelled, his eyes turning red. "Can we talk about this tomorrow? Can you just go back?" Lily said calmly. But Alex wouldn't back down. Trevor, seeing this, let his hand wander from Lily's shoulder to her neck, caressing it openly. "Do you even need to ask?" he scoffed. "I'm her boyfriend." "Lily, who's this guy?" "A friend. Just a friend." Trevor pressed. "Yes," Lily nodded meekly. "Then why is he barking like a stray dog?" "You motherfucker." Alex finally snapped. He lunged forward, swinging a fist at Trevor, but his frail frame was no match. Trevor easily dodged, and Alex's punch hit nothing but air. A moment later, a sharp slap echoed as Trevor's hand connected with Alex's face. And then, it had devolved into this. He was being held by the collar like a child, while Lily just stood by, and a circle of spectators watched the show. Alex's spirit shattered, and a wave of infinite regret washed over him. His heart felt like it was being torn apart as tears streamed down his face. Seeing Alex crying, Trevor finally let him go. As Alex crumpled to the ground, Trevor sneered, "Pathetic." But in that same instant, a figure shot out a newly arrived car, sprinted forward, and delivered a vicious kick to Trevor's backside. Trevor went down hard. Chris and Sam rushed forward to help Alex up from the ground. Wyatt saw the red handprint on Alex's face and was about to kick Trevor again when Lily stepped in front of him. "Wyatt, I'm warning you. Don't make this a bigger deal than it is." "Huh?" Wyatt let out a cold laugh. He pointed a finger at Alex. "Do you have any idea how much this guy has done to try and win you over?" Lily was about to speak, but Wyatt cut her off. "You know, I always knew this day would come. I just thought you'd at least have the decency to slowly ghost him after you realized he was no longer useful to you. I never thought you'd move on to another guy this fast and just stand there while he beats up Alex. Lily, you're nothing but a pathetic bitch." Lily looked at Wyatt, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had never expected him to speak to her like that. "Get out of my way," Wyatt roared. Lily actually flinched and stepped aside, unable to meet his gaze. In that moment, his eyes looked murderous. Trevor, who had been dazed on the ground, finally came to his senses. Humiliated in front of so many people, he scrambled to his feet and threw a punch at Wyatt. But Wyatt, taller and in prime physical condition from his regular workouts, sidestepped the blow with ease. He followed up with another kick, sending Trevor stumbling back against the BMW. Wyatt lunged, slammed Trevor's head against the car, and then bellowed, "Alex, get your ass over here." Wyatt's voice seemed to shock Alex back to life. He fiercely wiped the tears from his eyes and walked over. Wyatt looked at the bright red mark on Alex's face. He knew if it ended like this, Alex would never be able to hold his head up on campus again. "The slap he gave you," Wyatt commanded, his voice raw with fury. "Get it back to him. Now." The moment Wyatt grabbed Trevor by the collar and hauled him upright, Alex, without a trace of hesitation, swung his arm and slapped Trevor hard across the face. As Trevor moved to retaliate, Chris, Sam, and a dozen other male students from their finance class, who had heard the commotion, instantly swarmed in and surrounded him. "You move, I dare you. Stay right there. Wyatt, what do we do with this asshole?" No one had expected such a show of solidarity. Almost every guy from their class, with the exception of Ethan, had shown up. As they closed in around Trevor, their voices grew louder and more aggressive, each one seeming to channel Wyatt's own ferocity. No matter how furious Trevor was, he didn't dare make a peep. Just as Wyatt was about to speak, a stern voice cut through the noise. "What's going on here? What is all this?" Several men in campus security uniforms pushed through the crowd. Wyatt shot a look at Chris, who immediately started dispersing their classmates. Wyatt then approached the head security officer. "Sir," he said, pointing at Trevor, "I'm Wyatt, the class president for the freshman finance program. This man is not a student here. I got a call from female classmates saying my roommate was being assaulted by an outsider, so I brought some people over." Wyatt had called the security guard sir, a small sign of respect that immediately put the man on his side. Hearing that an outsider was causing trouble on campus, the security team's allegiance was clear. "You few," the security chief ordered, pointing at Trevor. "Take him to the security office." "Your name's Wyatt, right?" "Yes, sir." "You, and you," he said, pointing to Wyatt and his roommates. "Come with me to the office to help us get this sorted out." Then he turned to the onlookers. "The rest of you, break it up. Nothing to see here. Scram." Wyatt and his 3 roommates followed the security team to their office. The chief closed the door, lit a cigarette, and crossed his legs. "All right, talk. Who started it? Who threw the first punch?" was critical. "He did," Chris said immediately. "A lot of people saw it." "Is that so?" The chief looked at Trevor, who was seething. His perfect date with Lily had turned into this humiliating mess. "I only slapped the kid once," he yelled. "They're the ones who kept coming after me." "Don't you yell in here," the chief snapped, slamming his hand on the desk. "You're the one who started it, so you're in the wrong. You're not a student here, and you came on a campus to cause trouble. That alone is a major violation. I'm giving you 2 options. 1, we call the police and you can deal with them. 2, we drop this right here and you never set foot on this campus again." Trevor knew instantly the man was siding with Wyatt. On their turf, he had no chance. But calling the cops wasn't a good option either. He'd probably get hit with a disorderly conduct charge. He glared at Wyatt. "This isn't over," he spat. "You just wait." With that, Trevor turned and stormed out. The chief didn't stop him. He could see that Trevor had gotten the worst of the fight, so calling the police wouldn't have helped Wyatt's side either. After Trevor left, the chief looked at Wyatt. "That kid seems like he has some connections, driving a BMW at his age. You should probably lay low and stay on campus for a while. In here, I can back you up. Out there, I can't do anything for you." Wyatt just thanked him profusely. Once the situation was handled, he dragged Alex back to their dorm. The second the door closed, Wyatt exploded. "You fucking idiot. All you know how to do is cry when you get hit. Why the hell didn't you fight back?" Chris quickly stepped in to hold Wyatt back. "Wyatt, take it easy." Wyatt shoved him away. "I told you over and over again not to chase Lily. You heard me, but you pretended you didn't. Well, how about now? Now do you see what kind of trash she is? I'm telling you, you brought all of this on yourself. You deserve to be played like a fool by her. I got your pride back for you out there, but if you have half a brain, you'll block her on everything right now. If you ever talk to her again, don't you dare tell anyone you know me." Alex sat silently in his chair, not saying a word. When Wyatt was finished, Chris pulled him over to a chair. The atmosphere in the room was glacial. All 4 of them were there, but no one spoke. A long time passed. The sun began to set. Finally, Alex spoke, his voice hoarse. "Wyatt, I'm the idiot. I should have listened to you." Wyatt just snorted. "The money I owe you. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Don't think I don't know. The money I lent you, you spent it all on her. I was expecting you to ask for more, but you were too proud. I'm guessing you hit up your parents for cash too. Otherwise, at the rate you were spending, that $2,000 would have been gone ages ago." Alex flushed with shame, unable to say a word. It was true. He not only borrowed from Wyatt, but he'd also lied to his parents to get more money. Wyatt's words were meant to dig deep, to make Alex feel the full weight of his shame. Wyatt could restore his reputation on campus, but behind closed doors, he had to tear down Alex's pride completely to force him to wake up. Chris, worried Alex couldn't take any more, finally added, "Wyatt was going to bring you into the investment firm, but back then, your head was so full of Lily that he held off. He's been saving the manager position at the e-commerce company for you this whole time. From now on, you can focus on that." Hearing this, Alex's eyes welled up with fresh tears. Seeing that his message had finally gotten through, Wyatt softened his tone. "All those classmates who had your back this afternoon, you can't let them do that for nothing. Find some time, buy them all a boba tea. When you owe someone a favor, you pay it back. No one owes you anything except your parents. Chris, remind me tomorrow morning. I need to drop off a thank you gift for the security team on my way to the office." "Got it," Chris said. He then added a warning. "That guy's parting words didn't sound like he's going to let this go. You need to be careful." "I know. News of the incident spread across campus like wildfire. But the main character of the story wasn't Alex or Lily, it was Wyatt. In the retellings, he became the righteous hero who stood up for his roommate. His decisive actions made him a campus legend all over again. The next morning, Alex was up early and gone before anyone else. Wyatt, Chris mumbled from his bed. You don't think that idiot want to find Lily again, do you? I doubt it. Then where the hell did he go so early? Wyatt didn't answer. He didn't know either. The dorm fell silent again. At 7, Sam's alarm went off. He quickly shut it off, climbed down from his bunk, and after a hasty wash-up, sat at his desk to review his English proficiency materials. Around 7:20, the door opened. Alex walked in, drenched in sweat, carrying several bags of breakfast sandwiches. He placed a bag on each of his roommates' desks, then grabbed a change of clothes from his closet and headed into the bathroom to shower. He hadn't gone to see Lily. Although she had sent him several messages the previous evening, late last night, Alex had blocked her on everything. He had only slept a few hours, waking up around 5. He'd gone to the campus athletic field for a long run. None of the roommates said anything. After Chris got ready, he drove Alex and Sam to class. On his way to the office, Wyatt stopped by a local bakery and dropped off a couple boxes of high-end donuts at the campus security office. Around 10 o'clock, Jessica arrived at the office after her morning class. Jessica, can I talk to you for a second? Wyatt intercepted her as she walked in. What's up? She asked, looking up. The e-commerce company. I know you're still managing it. I'm going to have Alex contact you in the next day or two. I want you to hand everything over to him. From now on, you'll focus solely on the firm's finances. Jessica frowned. After what just happened with him yesterday, you're putting him in charge. Are you sure he can handle it? Wyatt's eyes widened. Even you heard about that. Jessica scoffed. You guys caused a huge scene. It was the first thing I heard when I got back to my dorm. Just do as I say. After something like that, Alex has learned his lesson. He'll be smarter now. I don't have a problem with it, Jessica said with a nod. Have him contact me. Rachel told me you've been leaving right at closing time recently. And a flash of annoyance crossed Jessica's face. Are you hoping I'll stay late and work for free every day? Whoa, I swear that's not what I meant, Wyatt said quickly. I was just worried something was going on with you. Just checking in. Oomph. Jessica rolled her eyes. I'm getting my driver's license. Oh, I see. Jessica didn't bother saying anything else and disappeared into the finance office. Wyatt went back to his own office and promptly texted her father, Charles Evans, to let him know. At that very moment, parked below the office building, a man in a beat-up silver cargo van snapped a photo of Wyatt's car with his phone. He sent a voice message to Trevor Connolly. Trev, this the car, right? Trevor, who was at a pool hall with a group of wannabe tough guys, received the message and opened the photo. He had memorized Wyatt's license plate yesterday. That night, he had called this bleach-blonde thug who hung around the fringes of society and had him stake out the campus entrance. He knew he couldn't win on Wyatt's home turf, but Trevor, who had been spoiled his whole life, wasn't about to swallow yesterday's humiliation. He immediately called the thug back. Yo, Mickey, where are you now? Outside the Vibe building in Dumbo. Good. You stay there and keep an eye on him. It's too risky to make a move during the day. I'm bringing some guys over tonight to take care of him. You got it, boss. Around noon, Wyatt got a call from Michael. The guy was living for Fridays now, counting down the minutes until he could take Isabelle out on a date. A girl with a love-addled brain was scary, but a guy was even worse. The second Wyatt answered, Michael's eager voice burst through. Wyatt, you seeing your girlfriend today? Yeah, but later. She has class this afternoon. I'm in Brooklyn with my uncle for an event. I'll come find you when I'm done this afternoon, and we can head over together. You're way too eager about this. I feel like you're up to something. I was just hoping to learn from the master. Michael laughed. That could be arranged. It's a deal, then. I'll head over when I'm done. Later, after hanging up, Wyatt killed time at the office. By 5 o'clock, Cecilia had already texted him, but Michael still hadn't shown up. Tired of waiting, Wyatt grabbed his keys and headed downstairs, calling Michael as he walked. The phone rang for a long time before he answered. It's almost dark. Where are you? Wyatt asked, annoyed. Hit a little snag, Michael explained over the sound of a blaring horn. I'm almost at your office. Give me 10 more minutes. Just 10. Hurry up. Almost there, almost there. Wyatt got in his car and texted Cecilia while he waited. Wyatt, Michael insisted I wait for him. I'll be there in about an hour. Cecilia, drive safe. Wyatt, are we staying at the hotel tonight? Face blowing a kiss, face blowing a kiss. Cecilia, nope. Cecilia, I promised my dad I'd video call with him tonight. Wyatt, why is your dad so annoying? Pouting face, pouting face. Cecilia, guess where my dad is right now? Wyatt, how would I know? Cecilia, he went to see my mom. Wyatt, huh? Wyatt, the dad, finally grew a brain. Cecilia, don't be mean. Just as they were texting back and forth, Michael pulled up. Seeing Wyatt's car, he honked twice. Wyatt quickly texted Cecilia a final message. Wyatt, Michael's here. Gotta go. See you soon. Cecilia, see you soon. Michael rolled down his window. You know this route better. You lead the way. Wyatt nodded, started his car, and pulled out of the office complex parking lot. Michael followed close behind. Neither of them knew that they were being tailed by a silver cargo van. Inside, the bleach-blonde thug was frantically on the phone with Trevor. Trev, you guys gotta get over here. He's on the move. How the hell should I know where he's going? Okay, once you guys get here, I'll pull up and block him off. 5 minutes later, a BMW and a Honda fell in behind the cargo van. Honk, honk, honk. After a few sharp blasts of horn, the silver van that had been tailgating them suddenly swerved into the left lane, shot past 2 cars, and cut sharply in front of Wyatt's Mazda, slamming on its brakes. The tires screamed against the pavement. Wyatt stomped on his own brakes, bringing the car to a halt on the shoulder. The doors of the BMW and Honda flew open. 7 or 8 guys, all in their early 20s, piled out. They were a perfect collection of wannabe thugs, some with garishly dyed hair, others with cigarettes dangling from their lips. At first, Wyatt thought the van driver was just some lunatic, but then he saw Trevor Connolly in his rearview mirror and realized what was happening. Trevor was here for payback. As they swaggered toward his car, Wyatt put his foot over the gas, ready to floor it and get the hell out of there. But of course, Michael Zhao, that absolute moron, threw his door open and hopped out. Hey, he shouted. What do you guys think you're doing? The memory of yesterday's humiliation at the university flashed in Trevor's mind. He clenched his fists, hissing at Michael. This has nothing to do with you. Get lost. Michael, what the hell are you doing getting out of the car? Wyatt could have strangled him. But with Michael already out, Wyatt had no choice but to get out, too, sighing in resignation. Michael glanced from Trevor's face to Wyatt's and finally put it together. Wyatt, these guys are here for you. Wyatt gave a helpless nod. Michael burst out laughing. How do you get into this crap? What did you do to piss them off? I'll tell you tonight. Huh, Trevor sneered. You can tell him from your hospital bed tonight. As he spoke, Trevor's crew of goons started cracking their knuckles and advancing on Wyatt. Before getting out, Wyatt had already dialed 911 on his phone. Seeing them approach, he was just about to hit call when Michael's voice cut through the air. Stop. When Trevor's crew ignored him, Michael's face hardened. I said stop. Are you all deaf? Trevor spun around, furious. I told you this is between me and him. You better stay out of it, or I'll mess you up too. Huh. Michael looked at Trevor like he was watching a particularly stupid insect. He strode forward and asked directly, Who do you guys roll with? The goons exchanged glances unimpressed. But Michael just smirked. Are you with Johnny, the River G? Or maybe Big Sal from the Starlight? Or is it Longhair from Club 8? The 3 names he dropped belonged to well-known figures who ran security for some of New York's biggest nightclubs and bars. Hearing them, Trevor's crew's eyes went wide. They were nobodies who could only dream of being in the same room as men like that. To them, those guys were legends. But the very legends they idolized would have to respectfully lower their glasses if they ever got the chance to share a drink with Michael Zhao. The guys you look up to don't even have the right to toast me at the dinner table. That was class. A flicker of worry crossed Trevor's face. Michael pulled out his phone, dialed a number in front of everyone, and put on speaker. A fawning voice answered immediately. Mr. Zhao, to what do I owe the pleasure? Is Big Sal at your place? Not now, but he'll be here tonight for sure. What's up? You need him for something? Nah, it's nothing. Just got my car blocked on the road by a couple of punks. Wanted to figure out whose crew they belong to. The club owner on the other end sounded shocked. You're kidding me. Someone in New York had the balls to block your car? They got a death wish? You want me to send some guys over? Nah, it's fine. I'll handle it myself. Michael glanced at the group of thugs, who now looked like they might wet their pants. He chuckled and shook his head. Nah, it's fine. I'll handle it myself. He hung up and walked toward Trevor. The guys standing next to Trevor instinctively took 2 steps back, their eyes filled with fear. Wyatt, who is this douchebag? Michael asked, sizing up Trevor. Wyatt stepped forward to explain. I don't know him. My roommate was chasing some girl who plays games. This guy intercepted her, and then slapped my roommate. I beat him up at school yesterday. Guess he's here for revenge. Michael looked Trevor up and down. A5 Series BMW your age? Your parents must do business in the city. Tell me about them. I want to see which dynasty of spoiled brats you come from. Trevor's bravado had completely evaporated. He could tell Michael was a heavy hitter. He swallowed hard and tried to sound calm. My dad owns Joyful Snacks. Who are you? Joyful Snacks? Never heard of it. Michael shrugged. As for who I am, you can go home and ask your dad. Ask him if he's ever heard of a company in this city called Apex Capital. Apex Capital. Seeing Trevor's reaction, Michael grinned. Whoa, so you have heard of it. Trevor's eyes were wide with disbelief. Apex Capital was one of the most formidable investment firms in New York. Anyone who was anyone in the city's upper echelons knew that name. After a long, stunned silence, Trevor asked meekly, "What's your relationship to him?" Michael slung an arm around Wyatt's shoulders and smiled. "He's my brother." The words landed, and the color drained from Trevor's face. His aggressive posture vanished. "So, Wyatt," Michael said, turning to him, "how do you want to handle this?" Before Wyatt could answer, Michael deliberately added a threat. "If you're not satisfied, I can make one call. I guarantee his dad will be at your company tomorrow, begging you for mercy." Trevor went pale. If anyone else had said that, he would have laughed it off. But coming from Michael, he had no choice but to believe it. He knew Apex Capital had that kind of power. A misunderstanding. Trevor rushed forward, forcing a smile. "It's all a misunderstanding, man. I was blind. I didn't know who I was dealing with. I'll delete Lily's number right now. Please be the bigger person. Don't hold this against me, okay? Not my call." "Ask him," Michael said, pointing at Wyatt. Just as Trevor was about to speak, Wyatt waved a dismissive hand at Michael. "Come on, I don't have time to mess with them. It's getting dark, and the girls are waiting for us to eat. You want Isabelle to be pissed we're late." Michael slapped his hands together and pointed at the goon in the van. "You son of a bitch, get your van the hell out of my way. Now." The driver's legs were practically jelly as he scrambled to start the engine and speed away. After watching Wyatt and Michael drive off, Trevor let out a long, shaky breath. He pulled out his phone and glanced at the message Lily had just sent him. Without a second of hesitation, he blocked and deleted her contact. Even though Wyatt had verbally let it go, Trevor wasn't willing to take the risk. He was just playing around with Lily anyway. He wasn't about to cause trouble for his family's business over some girl. He knew that both Michael and Wyatt were people he couldn't afford to offend. If Wyatt hadn't backed down, he would have been ready to get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. There were a million girls like Lily in the city's nightclubs. He could dump one Lily and find another, a Tiffany, a Jessica, even an idiot like Trevor knew which was more important. Message sent, but delivery failed. The recipient may have blocked you. Lily stared at the notification on her phone, her mind blank. She quickly tried calling Trevor, but it didn't go through. A robotic voice repeated, "The number you have dialed is currently busy. Please try again later." A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. It was the same message she'd gotten this morning when she'd tried to text and call Alex. She'd figured Alex had blocked her, but she wasn't angry. After spending so much time with him, she knew what kind of person he was. She had never planned on a future with Alex, so being blocked didn't bother her in the slightest. She already had a new option. That new option, of course, was Trevor, who was better than Alex in every way. They had only met a few times, but Lily already knew his family owned a big business. He was a much better fit for her. But what was happening now? The texts weren't going through, and the calls weren't connecting. He couldn't have blocked me too, could he? The more she thought about it, the more worried she became. She didn't know where Trevor worked or where he lived. If he blocked her, she'd have no way of finding him. Cece was resting her head on her arms at her dorm room desk, her chin propped gently on her hands. Every few minutes, she'd light up her phone screen. The hour they'd agreed on had passed. What's taking him so long? She wondered silently. Isabelle was also getting impatient. What's with Michael today? It's Friday. Why isn't he here yet? But where Cece kept her thoughts to herself, Isabelle voiced hers. After a moment of stewing, she called out, "Cece?" Cece was lost in thought and didn't seem to hear. Isabelle got up, walked over and gently tapped Cece on the head. Cece finally snapped out of her daze. "Is Wyatt not coming today?" Isabelle asked directly. "He is, but it's already dark. He said Michael was coming with him, and he had to wait a long time for him," Cece mumbled. "But he should be here any minute." "Oh, I see." Isabelle smiled and went back to her seat. 15 minutes later, Cece's phone finally rang. It was Wyatt. She shot up from her chair, grabbed her phone, and ran to the balcony. Seeing his car parked downstairs, she snatched her purse, ready to go. But as she reached the door, she stopped, frowning. "Isabelle, Michael's here too. Aren't you coming down?" Isabelle put on a haughty air. "He didn't call me. Why should I go down?" "Huh." Cece laughed happily and headed downstairs alone. The autumn air had turned cool. Cece was wearing a thick white hoodie with a pair of black bootcut jeans. She was already tall for a girl from the South, and the outfit made her look even more so. Wyatt got out of the car, rubbing his hands together. When Cece reached him, he cupped her face with his now warm palms. "Are you cold?" Cece smiled and shook her head. "Not at all." Watching the tender scene, Michael was practically dying of envy. He quickly got out of the car and walked over. Cece, did you not tell Isabelle I was here? I did. Then why isn't she coming down? Cece grinned. She said you didn't call her. Wyatt shot Michael a look. Michael threw his hands up. Fine, I'll call her Royal Highness right now. Michael, Cece and I are going to find a place to eat, Wyatt said. Let's meet up after we're done. Sounds good. Wyatt and Cece walked off. Michael quickly called Isabelle, but the call was immediately rejected. He tried again, and it was rejected again. He paced frantically below the dorm, and finally, out of options, he cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled, Isabelle, Isabelle, what are you yelling about? Isabelle appeared on the balcony, looking annoyed. Wait there. I'm coming down. Okay. 3 minutes later, Isabelle came downstairs. Michael rushed to meet her, a sheepish grin on his face. You know I was here. Why didn't you come down? Before he could finish, Isabelle reached out and twisted his ear. Who did you just call your Royal Highness? Michael grimaced. You heard that. He had no idea that after Cece left, Isabelle had snuck onto the balcony to eavesdrop and had heard that exact line. Isabelle twisted a little harder. Michael, who could make Trevor Connolly tremble with a single glance, was now yelping in pain. Easy, easy. Leave me some dignity. I'm begging you. Oomph. Isabelle finally let go, yanked open the passenger door, and slammed it shut behind her. Michael hurried around to the driver's side and got in, asking cheerfully, what do you want to eat? Spicy ramen. Huh, don't hummy. Just drive. Yes, ma'am. Wyatt and Cece didn't go out for a big dinner. Instead, they found a small ramen shop and each ordered a bowl of spicy beef ramen. It was already 7 and Wyatt was starving. As soon as the steaming bowls were placed on the table, he grabbed his chopsticks and dug in. Cece scooped about a third of the noodles from her bowl into his, then asked as she ate, was there a lot of traffic? Why were you so late? Oh yeah, a little bit. Telling her what happened would only make her worry, so Wyatt just went with it and changed the subject. So, why did your dad suddenly go to see your mom? At the mention of this, Cece brightened. Things have been slow at the bank, so my dad asked Aunt Elaine if my mom was busy. When he heard she wasn't, he just went over. My mom doesn't even know. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Huh. Wyatt smiled. If I'm not mistaken, the moment your dad asked Aunt Elaine, she told your mom. Oh, right. And that whole she's not busy thing? It's possible your mom told Aunt Elaine to say that. If that's the case, your mom is deliberately giving your dad a chance. You need to tell him to grab this opportunity and not let go. Hearing this, Cece immediately pulled out her phone, ready to message her clueless father. But Wyatt just smiled. No rush. Finish your noodles first. I'll send a message for you later. Cece had been worrying about what to say anyway. She hummed in agreement and happily handed her phone to Wyatt. Philadelphia. In a high-rise in the Central Business District, Miranda stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling windows of her office, a cup of coffee in her hand, gazing out at the city lights tracing the banks of the Delaware River. It was long past closing time. Although a few people had stayed behind to work overtime, the office was silent. The phone on her desk suddenly rang, shattering the quiet of the night. Miranda set her coffee down, glanced at the caller ID, and answered. A familiar voice came through the line. Hey, Miranda. Did the big bank president come find you? A smile touched Miranda's lips. She shook her head. No, he wouldn't dare come to the office to find me. No way, said Elaine from the other end. She was sitting on the balcony of a hotel in Key West, enjoying the sea breeze and the ocean view. He went all the way to Philly just for you. Miranda knew Charles well. The most he'll do is wait for me at the company entrance. He doesn't have the guts to come inside. You want me to give him a little push? Don't, Miranda said quickly. If he doesn't have the courage, then forget it. Elaine sighed. President Shun is just too dense. If he had half of little Wyatt's emotional intelligence, he'd have seen you by now. Let's not talk about him. What about you? Where are you now? I'm in Key West. How long are you planning to stay? Until I get tired of it, I guess. I've been to a lot of places recently, seen so many mountains and rivers. It's actually given me a lot of inspiration. When I get back to New York, I'm planning to talk to Wyatt about the lingerie company. Miranda's guess was dead on. At that very moment, Charles was waiting downstairs from her company building. As the minutes ticked by, his anxiety grew. He was afraid Miranda had already left. He was even more afraid that she'd found out from Elaine that he was in Philly and was deliberately avoiding him. The more he thought, the more his mind spiraled. Frustrated, he decided to video call Cece. The call connected quickly, but the face that appeared on the screen wasn't his precious daughter. It was Wyatt, the pig who had tunneled into his backyard and stolen his prize cabbage. Why is it you? Where's Cece? Cece had just finished her noodles. She got up and sat next to Wyatt, smiling. I'm here. The dinner rush was over, and the ramen shop was empty, but Cece was still worried about disturbing others. She pulled a pair of earbuds from her purse, plugged them in, put one in her ear, and handed the other to Wyatt. Wyatt asked directly, "Uncle, where are you?" Charles was too embarrassed to admit he was downstairs from Miranda's office, so he mumbled something about being in his car. But Wyatt immediately grinned. "Uncle, you're not downstairs from Annie's office, are you?" Charles's eyes went wide. "How does this little punk—" "No, I'm downstairs from Miranda's office." From her dad's expression, Cece knew Wyatt had guessed right. She blinked, leaned closer, and asked, "Dad, why don't you go up and see Mom?" Just as Charles was about to speak, Wyatt cut in. "Your dad is definitely worried that if people at the company find out about him and your mom, they'll gossip. But Uncle, have you ever considered that Auntie might already know you're here to see her? That she might have even guessed you're waiting downstairs right now?" He added, "If I can figure out, Annie has a 90% chance of figuring it out, too. Uncle, wanting to break down what she's thinking right now." Charles feigned indifference. "How could you possibly know what she's thinking?" Wyatt smiled. He knew Charles wanted to hear, but was too proud to ask, so he was trying to bait him. "Annalene probably told Annie you were coming a long time ago. And a strong woman like Annie, even if she knew you were here, she'd pretend she didn't. Putting myself in her shoes, she's probably thinking, 'Charles Chun, if you don't have the guts to come up here and find me, then you can just get the hell out. You don't even have that much courage, and you want to get back together? From now on, you can stay as far away from me as possible.'" Charles was stunned. That sounded exactly like something Miranda would say. She doesn't really know I'm waiting downstairs, does she? Is that why she's not coming down?" Seeing Charles's silence, Wyatt continued, "Uncle, tonight is very likely a test from Annie. If you dare to go upstairs and find her, even if she scolds you, she'll be happy inside. If you just sit in your car and wait, she might not even want to see you at all. A man who doesn't even have the courage to see the woman he loves. How can she possibly know if you truly love her? If it were me, I'd get out of the car and go upstairs right now. If anyone asks who I'm looking for, I'd say I'm looking for my wife. I want everyone to know about our relationship." Charles was speechless. Wyatt hung up the video call at the perfect moment. He'd said all he could. Now, it was up to his father-in-law. Cece sat beside him, pouting. "Why did you hang up? I've coached him this much. What more do you want me to say?" Wyatt wrapped an arm around Cece's waist, sighed dramatically, and said with a smile, "I've really worried myself sick over your family's affairs." "Whatever." Cece silently prayed that her father would do as Wyatt said. She knew that Wyatt's advice was, without a doubt, the best move for tonight. Charles gripped his phone, his mind racing as he made his final decision. Every word Wyatt had just said seemed to play on a loop in his ears. Coming to Philly had been an impulsive decision, but since he was already here, what was the point if it didn't lead to a good outcome? With that thought, Charles shoved his phone back into his pocket, got out of the car, straightened his collar, gave himself a silent pep talk, and strode into the office building. He took the elevator to Miranda's floor. Seeing the reception desk, he walked toward the glass doors. The receptionist, who was just about to leave for the day, saw him approaching and came forward. "Sir, who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Miranda Jiang." "And you are?" "I'm her husband." The young receptionist paused. She didn't know much about Miranda's personal life, so she quickly said, "Please wait a moment. I'll go inform Miss Jiang." "Thank you." The receptionist relayed the message to Miranda's assistant, who peeked out, saw it was really Charles, and immediately went to knock on Miranda's office door. "Come in." The assistant pushed the door open. "Ms. Jiang, your ex-husband is here to see you." Miranda was surprised, but in front of her assistant, she forced a calm expression. "Where is he?" "He's in the waiting area. Should I bring him over?" "Yes." The assistant returned shortly, leading Charles into Miranda's office before tactfully excusing herself. The door closed, leaving just the two of them in the room. Miranda looked up and asked bluntly, "What are you doing here?" Charles was at a loss for words when Wyatt's voice seemed to echo in his ears again. He took a breath and said with genuine sincerity, I missed you." Thump. Miranda's heart skipped a beat. The ice that had encased it for so long seemed to crack at the words, "I missed you," shattering into a million pieces. She looked at Charles, who stood awkwardly at the door, and for once, the ever-eloquent Miranda Jiang was at a loss for words. After a long silence, she finally asked, "Who taught you to say that?" Charles looked bewildered. "No one taught me. Give me your phone." "Huh." I said, "Give me your phone." Charles foolishly walked over and handed it to her. Miranda lit up the screen, successfully unlocked it by entering her daughter's birthday, and went straight to his messages. Seeing that he had indeed just video chatted with Cece, she held the phone up to his face. "Still say no one taught you? Are you telling me you didn't come to my office because of what Cece and Wyatt said?" Charles declared righteously, "I didn't." You really didn't? I just had a quick chat with Cece. Huh. He still had that habit of looking away when he lied. Miranda hid a smile, handed the phone back, and then grabbed her purse, heading for the door. At the doorway, she stopped, glanced back at Charles still standing frozen in place, and sighed. Are you planning to spend the night in my office? Charles quickly pocketed his phone and obediently followed her out. In the elevator. Where are you staying? I haven't checked into a hotel yet. When did you get here? Left home at 6 this morning, got to Philly around 11:30. Are you an idiot? What if I had been away on a business trip? I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Charles answered honestly. I had a dream last night about a lot of old things. When I woke up, I just got in the car and drove here on impulse. Miranda stood beside him in silence, but her heart was beating faster and faster, because she often had the same kinds of dreams. Just as they were both lost in thought, a very inopportune sound echoed in the elevator. Grumble. Miranda turned to look at Charles, surprised. You didn't eat dinner? Charles shook his head, embarrassed. I didn't even have lunch. Miranda rolled her eyes. Charles Chun, you really are an idiot. New York City. On the drive back to the university, Wyatt was still trying to persuade Cece. We already did the video call. Why can't you stay at the hotel with me? I was sweating while I was eating my ramen. I want to go back to the dorm and shower. You can go back, grab your pajamas, and then we can go to the hotel together. No, Cece mumbled. I need to ask my dad if he actually met my mom yet. Ask him tomorrow morning. No. Seeing how determined she was, Wyatt dropped it. The car fell silent for 2 minutes. Wyatt didn't say a word. Cece thought he was angry. She reached out and tugged on his sleeve, whispering, Tomorrow night. Okay. What about tomorrow night? Going to the hotel. It dawned on Wyatt, and he grinned. Okay. When Wyatt pulled up happily to the dorm, Michael and Isabelle happened to be returning as well. The four of them chatted for a few minutes before Isabelle and Cece went upstairs. Michael pulled a pack of gum from his pocket, popped a piece in his mouth, and offered one to Wyatt. How long did you know your girlfriend before you held her hand? Second time we met. Damn, how'd you manage that? Personal charm. Wyatt was being coy. He asked with a smile, What? You tried to hold Isabelle's hand, and she said no. I haven't tried yet. Isabelle is smarter than you. If you try to use some trick, she'll see right through it. Just pick your moment and go for it. If she pulls her hand away, it means you're not there yet. If she gets shy and tries to pull back, she's not rejecting you. She's just embarrassed. You can hold her hand tighter so she can't pull away. Michael gave him a thumbs up. Pro move. Anyway, the first step is always the hardest. Once you've done it once, you can do it a second time. And a second time means N times. True. Michael nodded. So what are your plans for tonight? Staying at the hotel nearby. The front desk staff all know me by now. All right. I'm heading back then. See ya. See ya. After Michael drove off, Wyatt pulled out his phone and called Leo. Hey, where are you? Just got to the school entrance. I'm waiting for you at the dorm. Hurry up. Okay, be right there. About 7 or 8 minutes later, Leo and Sophie walked toward the girls' dorm. They had been holding hands, but when they saw Wyatt from a distance, Sophie pulled her hand away. Leo knew she was just shy, so he didn't try to hold her hand when others were around. Look at you two. Cece and I had dinner, took a walk, and got back, and you two are just now showing up. Wyatt pulled Leo aside, cupping his chin and inspecting him from left to right. Sophie was exasperated. Wyatt, what are you doing? Wyatt grinned. Just checking to see if he gave my boy Leo any hickeys. You're ridiculous. Sophie playfully smacked Wyatt with her purse and then hurried into the dorm. Wyatt slung an arm around Leo's shoulder. You dog. You and Sophie have been moving pretty fast lately. It's been all right. Have you guys done everything you should and shouldn't have done? No way, Leo said immediately. Just holding hands and a few little kisses. Let's go. Back to the hotel for some sleep. Aren't you with your girlfriend tonight? My lady said not tonight. Tomorrow. Philadelphia. In a small roadside eatery. When the steaming bowls of chicken noodle soup were placed on the table, Charles, who was so hungry his stomach felt like it was stuck to his spine, eagerly picked up his spoon and started eating. The soup was a local specialty, with a rich, fragrant broth and tender chicken. Many tourists who came to Philly made a point of trying it. To his shame, even though he and Miranda had been married long ago, Charles could count the number of times he'd been to Philly on one hand. If he hadn't remembered which office building Miranda worked in, he might not have even found her company. Miranda had actually eaten at the office earlier that evening, but on the way over, she'd lied and told Charles she hadn't eaten either. So she only took a few bites before putting her spoon down. Seeing Charles devour the bowl of soup like a whirlwind, she found it surprisingly amusing. Back in Riverwood, Charles rarely had such a disheveled moment. To his employees, he was the stone-faced bank president. To his clients, he was a highly capable partner. To outsiders, he was a perfect gentleman. Perhaps only in Miranda's eyes was he a husband full of flaws, inadequate in every way. But the Charles before her now seemed a little different from her memory. At least in the past, he would have never driven to Philly alone, let alone gone straight up to her office to find her. Seeing that Charles had finished his soup, Miranda did something she hadn't done in years. "If you're not full, have another bowl." Charles pointed at the nearly full bowl in front of her. "Why aren't you eating?" "I'm full," Miranda said flatly. The words had barely left her mouth when Charles switched their bowls. He then picked up a spoon and started eating the soup that had been hers. Years later, whenever he thought back on this moment, Charles would always say with a sigh, "That was the most delicious and the most heartwarming bowl of chicken noodle soup I've ever had in my life." It was after 9 when they left the diner. Unlike in a small town, even at this hour on a cool autumn night, the streets of Philadelphia were still bustling with people. After they both got in the car, Miranda instructed, "Drive straight. Take a left at the second intersection. You'll see the hotel." Charles stepped on the gas. Feeling the atmosphere in the car was a little awkward, he took the initiative. "Have you been in touch with Elaine recently?" "Why do you ask?" "Just asking," Charles said, feeling a bit guilty. Miranda shot back. "When you video chatted with Cece, was Wyatt with her?" "Of course he was. That kid has his own company. How does he still have so much time to see our daughter?" "The other day, I called Cece early in the morning, and they were already together. I suspect they might be living together." "Do you know how long it takes to drive from Wyatt's university to Cece's?" "How would I know? 45 minutes without traffic, at least an hour with traffic. They've been together for this long, and he still makes that long drive to see her every week." "Could you do that?" Before Charles could answer, Miranda pressed on, "How many times have you been to Philadelphia?" The question left him speechless. Thinking about it, he really did fall short compared to Wyatt. Charles turned into the hotel parking garage. After Miranda got out, she confidently led him into the elevator. When they reached the lobby, she held out her hand. "ID." Charles quickly pulled his wallet from his inner jacket pocket, took out his ID, and handed it to her. Miranda, in her high heels, strode briskly to the front desk. After booking a room, she handed the ID and room key back to Charles. "Breakfast is on the 12th floor, but only until 10 a.m. I paid for 2 nights. You're going back to Riverwood on Sunday. What time do you work tomorrow?" "I'll drive you. Tomorrow's Saturday." Then, Charles gathered his courage. "Do you have anything else you need to do?" "What are you trying to say?" For once, Charles stood his ground. "If you have time, I'd like to just walk around with you tomorrow." Miranda hid a smile and scoffed. "A little late for that, isn't it? I was wrong before. I'll change." "Miranda, please give me one more chance." "Fine," Miranda said generously. "Starting today, you come to Philly every 2 weeks. If you can keep that up for a year, I'll consider remarrying you." "Are you serious?" This was the first time Miranda had ever budged. Charles was so excited he unconsciously grabbed her hand. Miranda pulled her hand back, feigning disgust. "Get off me. You still get on my nerves." Charles grinned sheepishly. This trip to Philly was definitely worth it. "Looks like I really do need to learn a thing or two from that little punk Wyatt." The next morning, Cece couldn't wait to share the good news of her parents' meeting with Wyatt. But when she called, Wyatt was still asleep. It was Leo who answered. After washing up, Leo took the car keys and went to pick up Sophie and Cece. He dropped Cece off at the hotel first, then took Sophie to get breakfast. Cece expertly found her way to the room, swiped the key card, and opened the door to find Wyatt still sprawled on the bed, fast asleep. She pouted, walked over, and patted his back a couple of times. Wyatt immediately grumbled, "Half asleep, Leo. If you touch me again, I swear I'll kill you." Hearing this, Cece slapped him again. Wyatt shot up in bed and finally realized it wasn't Leo, who had snored like a freight train on the other bed last night, but Cece. "How is it you? You pig. Everyone else is awake, and you're still sleeping in." Wyatt sighed. "It's really not my fault. That dog Leo snored like thunder last night. I didn't fall asleep until the middle of the night. Get up. I'm pulling the covers off." Wyatt was shameless. "Go ahead. I slept naked last night anyway." As he said it, he suddenly threw the covers open. Cece quickly covered her eyes, but her ring and middle fingers were spread apart. She let out a shriek, only to realize Wyatt had tricked her. He was clearly wearing clothes underneath. Wyatt roared with laughter. "Ha, you're so easy to fool." Cece's face turned crimson. She unleashed a flurry of palms on him. Wyatt waved his hands. Okay, I'll stop messing around." As he spoke, he slipped on his slippers and headed to the bathroom to get ready, asking, "How's your dad? Did he meet up with your mom yesterday?" "He did. Did he do it the way I taught him?" He was too embarrassed to say, "But I think so." Good. My father-in-law is finally listening. Wyatt poked his head out of the bathroom. So what did your mom say? Cece shook her head. I don't know, but my dad said they're going to Independence Hall today. See? Making your mom happy isn't that hard. Your dad is just too dense. What are we doing today? Going somewhere cheap. Your man is a little broke right now. Cece giggled. But I have money. With a toothbrush in his mouth, Wyatt walked out of the bathroom and grinned. Then let's go shopping for clothes. Look, the collar on this shirt is all wrinkled, and my shoes are about to fall apart. And I don't know how, but my underwear has another hole in it. Look, you're insane. Just brush your teeth. Yes, ma'am. 15 minutes later, Wyatt and Cece left the hotel. After grabbing breakfast and meeting up with Leo and Sophie, the four of them headed to the mall. Once there, they split into two groups. Leo and Sophie went to play the claw machines. Cece, meanwhile, started dragging Wyatt through clothing stores. This one's nice. This one's nice too. And this one. Cece quickly picked out a pile of clothes for Wyatt. He rushed over to stop her. Just a couple of things is fine. You don't have to pick so many. Nope. You have to try on every piece I choose. Huh. No backtalk. Go. Under Cece's command, Wyatt began trying on her selections. He had a standard build, so almost any nice-looking item looked good on him. Cece thought every piece was great. After vetoing 2 jackets that were too brightly colored, she waved her hand at the sales associate. Not those 2. We'll take all the rest. Of course. The cashier quickly tallied up the bill. That's $1,750. We have a 10% discount today, so your total is $1,575. The cashier held the payment scanner out to Wyatt, but Cece pulled out her phone and said she'd pay. The cashier glanced at Wyatt in surprise. After all, it was rare for a girl to pick out clothes for a guy, and even rarer for her to pay. Wyatt noticed the cashier's strange look. He immediately wrapped an arm around Cece and said defiantly, "What are you looking at? Never seen a guy get spoiled by a sugar mama before." No man had ever managed to make being a freeloader sound so heroic. After Wyatt's shameless declaration, both the cashier and the sales associate bagging the clothes burst out laughing. Cece was mortified. She quickly scanned the code, paid, and dragged the embarrassing man beside her out of the store. They wandered the mall all morning. By the time the four of them sat down for lunch, a light, drizzling rain had started to fall outside, accompanied by gusts of cold wind. The sudden rain threw a wrench in Michael's plans for the day. He had wanted to take Isabelle out that afternoon, but the weather made it inconvenient to go anywhere. Frustrated, he called Wyatt to ask what he and Cece did on rainy days. "It's raining, so obviously we stay in the hotel and sleep. Where else would we go?" Wyatt replied. "If I told Isabelle I wanted to go to a hotel and sleep right now, I think she'd literally murder me." "Huh?" Wyatt, thinking he had no other plans for the afternoon, suggested, "How about we go to a hotel and play some cards or Ma-jong?" "Yeah, that works." For Michael, as long as he could spend time with Isabelle, he'd do anything. Wyatt laughed. "Okay, you go pick up Isabelle and Ashley. Leo and Sophie are with me. I'll send you the location. We'll meet downstairs at the hotel." "Got it." After hanging up, Michael drove to the music school. Once he called Isabelle and Ashley down, he headed back to the hotel Wyatt frequented. When he arrived, Wyatt's group was already waiting. "You get the room yet?" Michael asked. Wyatt shrugged. "Nope. We were waiting for Mr. Moneybags to pay." Michael walked up to the front desk and generously booked an entertainment suite. It had 2 bedrooms and a living room, 1 bedroom, 1 game room, and a sitting area. It was much nicer than a standard room, and the price reflected it. Of course, Michael and Isabelle wouldn't be staying the night, and Leo and Sophie hadn't reached that stage either. So, in reality, the room was booked for Wyatt. Wyatt snatched the key card and ran back to Cece, presenting it like a trophy. "Huh, we get to enjoy the good life tonight." Cece's face flushed red, but she was too embarrassed to say anything in front of everyone. She just looked up at him, her fierce little glare screaming. "You better shut up right now." Wyatt laughed and led the group into the elevator. Once in the room, they all curiously explored. Ashley stood at the door of the game room, pointed at the automatic Ma-jong table inside, and said excitedly, "Hey, they even have a Ma-jong table." "It's an entertainment suite. Of course it does," Wyatt explained. "How many of you know how to play?" Ashley was the first to raise her hand. "I do." Isabelle also smiled. "I do too. I learned over the new year, but I'm not very good." Wyatt then asked Sophie, "Sophie, what about you?" Sophie shook her head, embarrassed, indicating she didn't know how. Wyatt immediately pointed at Leo. "No problem, Leo knows. His mom's nickname is the Sparrow God of Happiness Road. Her skills are top-notch. He can teach you." Michael now chimed in. "To be honest, I don't know how either. I don't even know the basic rules." Wyatt waved them all into the game room. After turning on a Ma-jong table, he began explaining the rules. It's actually simple. If you use a math formula, it's basically a pair plus m sets of straights plus n sets of 3 of a kind, where m or n can be 0. Like this. He drew a hand and showed them a few common winning combinations. Michael was surprised. It's that simple. Yep, it's not hard at all. Wyatt pulled out a chair for Cece, then had Ashley, Sophie, and Isabelle sit down as well. Don't worry, he said with a smile. You'll get the hang of it after a couple of rounds. It was Cece's first time playing Ma-jong, and she found it novel. Under Wyatt's guidance, she quickly became interested in the game. After a few rounds, she was even starting to argue with him. You should have discarded the 9 of characters first. I want to discard the 2 of dots. You'll have a hard time winning that way. Cece drew a tile, another 9 of characters. She triumphantly showed it to Wyatt, as if she'd won a great battle. Wyatt obediently shut his mouth. There was no helping it. Beginner's luck in Ma-jong was a powerful force. The group activity quickly got them all hooked. They played round after round, unable to stop. In the afternoon, Michael ordered delivery on his phone, getting several large platters of cut fruit. Wyatt sat beside Cece, using a small plastic fork to feed himself a piece, then feed her a piece, then himself, then her. Seeing this, Leo and Michael followed suit. Sophie and Isabelle, completely focused on the game, didn't refuse the offerings. It wasn't until 5:30, when they saw it was getting dark outside, that Wyatt finally said, I think that's enough for today. It's dark out. If you keep playing, you'll all have to spend the night here. Isabelle stretched her arms high above her head. Ashley next to her looked at her phone and said, Wow, time flies. Leo whispered, Are we still going out for dinner? Sophie shook her head. No, I'm not hungry. I'm full from all that fruit. Then let's head back. Okay. They all got up and started gathering their things. Seeing Cece grab her bag as well, Wyatt immediately took her hand and tossed the car keys to Leo. Leo, after you drop them off, drive the car back to campus. You can give me the keys tomorrow at lunch. I'm not going out tonight. Oh, Cece had already promised Wyatt yesterday, and she didn't want to go back on her word. Besides, she had secretly folded her pajamas and put them in her bag that morning. Still feeling a bit shy, she ducked into the bathroom. She didn't come out until her 3 roommates, Leo and Michael, had all left. Come here and let me give you a hug, Wyatt said with a grin, opening his arms. Cece rolled her eyes at him, took her bag into the bedroom, found her phone, and then sat down on the living room sofa. Wyatt quickly sat down next to her, resting his head on her shoulder as they looked at the photos Charles had sent that afternoon. After a moment, Wyatt chuckled. Your dad is pretending to take pictures of the scenery, but your mom is in almost every single one. It shows he still loves my mom. Why is he sending so many pictures to you? Tell him to post them on his social media. Post them? Yeah. What's the point of showing you? The person who needs to see them is your mom. Cece thought that made sense and quickly sent a message to Charles. Dad, you should pick a few pictures and post them. Charles was having dinner with Miranda. He saw the message, thought for a moment, and replied, I'll post them tonight. Miranda saw him smiling as he texted and guessed it was their daughter. Is that Cece? Charles nodded. Should I video call her? Sure. Charles initiated a video call. Cece's hand slipped, and she accidentally accepted it. The screen immediately filled with the image of Wyatt leaning on her shoulder. Realizing their pose was a bit intimate, she quickly made Wyatt sit up straight. Charles took a deep breath and handed the phone to Miranda. Auntie, Wyatt, have you two had dinner yet? We had some fruit. I saw the weather forecast. Is it raining in New York? Yeah, it was fine this morning, but it started raining around noon. Miranda and Wyatt chatted casually. Charles would chime in occasionally, while Cece mostly listened from the side, rarely saying a word. She didn't mind. Without Wyatt, her conversations with her parents usually didn't last more than 5 minutes. Right now, she was incredibly happy. The 3 people who loved her most in the world were just chatting about trivial things. And for the first time in a long time, she felt the warmth of a home. It was so warm, so blissful. It's going to get cold soon. You two remember to stay warm. We will, and... Okay, that's all for now. Miranda handed the phone back to Charles. He took it, glanced at Wyatt and his daughter on the sofa, and then finally asked, Where are you two right now? Wyatt blurted out, In a hotel. Oh, crap. Cece, terrified that Wyatt would say too much, quickly snatched the phone back and said nervously, I'm heading back to the dorm now. That's all, bye. The video call ended abruptly. Charles's head was buzzing. It would have been fine if Cece hadn't been so nervous. But her panic set off alarm bells. Just as he was silently praying, Miranda frowned. What are you spacing out for? It's so late, Charles said worriedly. They're still in a hotel. Our daughter isn't. Go to spend the night out with that kid, is she? He had hoped Miranda would say, "Of course not," to ease his mind. But she just casually replied, "They're both adults. What are you going to do about it? You trust Wyatt that much? Let me ask you, since Cece started college, has her personality and everything else been changing for the better?" "Yes." "So, would you say that's our accomplishment or Wyatt's?" "That's not the same thing." "It is the same thing," Miranda said stubbornly. "As long as my daughter is happy, I'll let everything else take its natural course." Charles still had to ask, "What if?" And I'm just saying, what if our daughter accidentally gets pregnant? What will you do then? To emphasize the seriousness of the situation, he added, "It happens a lot these days. Don't take this lightly." Miranda, however, was unfazed. "Then I'll quit my job and come home to raise the baby." Her one sentence left Charles speechless. Seeing Miranda's attitude, he could only sigh and mutter, "Then from now on, I'll just turn a blind eye." "Well, look at you, Charles Chun. You've had an epiphany. Otherwise, that kid is going to give me a heart attack sooner or later." Miranda didn't reply. As she lowered her head to eat, a faint smile played on her lips. After the video call ended, Cece got up to take a shower. Wyatt took the opportunity to call home. His parents were watching TV. When they saw his call, Sarah immediately told David to turn the volume down. "Son, have you eaten?" Even though he'd only had some fruit, Wyatt replied, "Yeah, I ate." "Where are you?" "A hotel." "Where else?" "You went to see Cece again." "Yep. I didn't even want to come, but she insisted." "Let me tell you, when you like someone, you have to be completely devoted. Cheaters never end up well. What goes around comes around." Wyatt quickly cut her off. All right, Mom. How many of those sappy, inspirational articles have you been reading on Facebook? You're starting to sound just like them." "I'm just reminding you. It's fine, we're doing great. She even took me shopping for clothes this morning." "How many pieces did she buy you?" 2 jackets, a hoodie, 2 pairs of pants, and a 3-pack of boxers. All paid for by your future daughter-in-law. Have you no shame? Making a girl pay for your own clothes." Wyatt grimaced. "Your son is broke right now." "What happened? Did you go bankrupt?" "No, I just invested in some other businesses. I don't have much cash left." Mother and son chatted for 20 minutes. When Wyatt saw Cece finally come out of the bathroom, he asked, "Cece, want to come say hi to my mom?" Cece had heard him on the phone, so she had been trying to walk silently. She never expected him to call her over. She shot him a glare, but walked over obediently, said a polite hello, Mr. and Mrs. Hall, and then immediately made up an excuse, "I need to use the restroom," and fled, but not before giving his side a sharp pinch. Wyatt didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing that it was getting late, he said to his mom, "Okay, Mom, that's it for now. You and Dad go to bed early. Don't catch a cold now that the weather's changing." "Okay." Sarah hung up, looking pleased. David, sitting next to her, immediately pointed out, You didn't notice the problem?" Sarah frowned. "What problem? It's this late, and they're still in a hotel." And when Cece came over to say hi, she was wearing pajamas. Sarah's eyes widened as it dawned on her. David smiled. Looking at them, this probably isn't their first time. It's too late to say anything now. Just let them be. They're adults, after all. Sarah thought that made sense, but she picked up her phone again. "What are you doing?" David asked. "Sending my son some money," Sarah replied. "Didn't you hear him say he's a little broke?" As she spoke, she tapped on her phone. She ended up sending 4 Venmo payments, each with a caption. The first was, "For your health." The second, "For good luck." The third, "For your studies." The fourth was special. It was a sentence. "This one is for my future daughter-in-law." Wyatt quickly accepted the first, second, and fourth payments. He even sent a voice message complaining, "Mom, only sending Cece you $200? That's so stingy." Sarah laughed. "When you two come home for winter break, I'll give Cece a huge gift, and I'll give her this jade bracelet I'm wearing." She then asked, "Why didn't you accept the third one?" Wyatt sent back a voice message. "Thanks, Mom, but I don't take money I haven't earned." Sarah sent back a 10-second voice message. Wyatt knew it was just her scolding him, so he didn't even bother to open it. He took a quick 5-minute shower. When he came out, he first checked that the door was locked. After making sure it was double-locked, he walked into the bedroom, closing the door behind him. Cece was leaning against the headboard, holding her phone, trying her best to look calm. Wyatt saw right through her, but didn't say anything. He pulled back the covers and lay down on the other side. "What are you looking at?" "Scrolling through Facebook." "Stop that. Using your phone in bed is bad for your eyes." "Oh." Cece put her phone on the nightstand, flattened her pillow, and carefully lay down. Wyatt yawned and turned off the lamp. The room fell silent. Their breathing gradually became even. When Cece noticed that Wyatt hadn't moved for a while, she deliberately scooted closer to him. Still no reaction, as if he were asleep. Cece was a little unhappy. She pretended to accidentally kick him. When he stirred, she pouted and whispered, Why aren't you holding me today? Wyatt turned on his side and wrapped his arms around Cece, who had already moved next to him. One hand slid under her neck to cradle her head, while the other wrapped around her waist, his palm resting on her stomach. Through the thin fabric of her pajamas, Cece could clearly feel the warmth of his hand. Her face flushed as she shifted her position slightly, closed her eyes, and felt the temperature in the cocoon of blankets steadily rise. Don't move. Sleep. Okay. Last night at dinner, Miranda had acted nonchalant about Charles's questions, but she was genuinely curious if her daughter and Wyatt had really progressed to sleeping together. So, on Sunday morning, just as the sky was beginning to lighten, she pulled out her phone and called Wyatt. The sudden ringing in the quiet room woke them both up. Cece just rolled over, pulling back the leg she had draped over Wyatt. He, meanwhile, groggily fumbled for his phone under his pillow. Without even looking at the caller ID, he answered and put it to his ear. Hello, Wyatt. Is Cece awake yet? Miranda asked directly. Wyatt mumbled, Not yet. Okay, I see. It's nothing, you two go back to sleep. Wyatt quickly stuffed the phone back under his pillow, but 2 minutes later, his eyes shot open. Crap, I'll let it slip. Thinking back on the conversation, Wyatt knew that their spending the night at the hotel was now exposed. But it was too late for regrets. He glanced at the still sleeping Cece and decided to keep it from her. There was no point in telling her now. And far away in Philadelphia, having confirmed her suspicions, Miranda's mood hadn't changed much. Their behavior when they were together already said a lot. At 8 o'clock, the sky was still overcast, and a light drizzle continued to fall. When Wyatt opened his eyes for the second time, he got out of bed. After getting ready, he sat alone on the living room sofa, playing on his phone. He hadn't wanted to wake up so early, but at his age, morning physiological reactions were a bit too intense to ignore. Not long after, Cece also woke up naturally. Curled up in the warm bed, she noticed Wyatt wasn't beside her and called out his name twice. Hearing his reply, she finally threw back the covers, got up, and walked in the bathroom, full of energy. They used the complimentary breakfast vouchers for a simple meal and spent the rest of the morning in the hotel. Wyatt returned to campus at 2 in the afternoon. When he pushed open the door to his suite, only Chris was there, sitting at his desk watching a Korean movie on his laptop. Wyatt knew that Sam had gone to Austin on a business trip with Carter Liu. But Alex's absence was strange. Where's Alex? He's at the e-commerce company, Chris said with a smile. After that incident the other day, the kid seems to have turned over a new leaf. Wyatt smiled too. It's a hurdle he had to get over. Hopefully, he learned his lesson and won't be so stupid in the future. Why'd you buy so many clothes? Chris asked, noticing the bags in Wyatt's hands. My girlfriend bought them for me, Wyatt explained. He took the clothes out one by one, preparing to wash them all first. Chris pointed at the boxers in Wyatt's hand. Your girlfriend bought those for you too? Yep. Damn, dude. Did you save the world in a past life or something? Just as Wyatt was about to reply, his phone rang. He pulled it out and saw it was his advisor, Ms. Sutton. He was a little surprised. Hey, Ms. Sutton. Wyatt, are you on campus right now? I just got back. Do you have time to stop by the administration building? Director Shaw from the Career Center wants to see you. Director Shaw from the Career Center? Wyatt was puzzled. What does he want with me? Ms. Sutton didn't know the specifics either, but after years as an advisor, she had a good idea. Every November, the university holds an autumn job fair. I think Director Shaw wants to talk to you about that. You should go see him. All right, I'll head over in a bit. Chris, who had overheard, was also confused. What does the job fair have to do with us? We're only sophomores. If I'm not mistaken, Wyatt said, Director Shaw wants our company to have a booth at the fair. Other than that, I can't think of any other reason he'd want to see me. Chris immediately lit up. You have to give a sweet gig like that to me. A sophomore recruiting seniors to come work for him? Just thinking about it is awesome. If that's the case, we have no reason to refuse. I want to get assistants for Carter and Travis and expand the departments a bit. But we have to set the bar high. The people we hire now need to have the potential to be leaders in a few years. Chris said gleefully, get me an assistant too. Wyatt slowly picked up his phone, pretended to dial, and put it to his ear. Hey, Paige, I need to tell you something. Chris wants to hire a female assistant for himself. Wyatt, you son of a bitch. Chris scrambled over and snatched the phone away. Seeing that Wyatt hadn't actually been calling Paige, Chris let out a sigh of relief. Can you not try to get me killed? You coward. Wyatt left the dorm and headed to the administration building. After meeting with Director Shaw from the University Career Center, his guess was confirmed. The director wanted C. Investments to have a presence at the upcoming job fair. These days, finding a job was getting harder every year. The Career Center's work was also getting more difficult. If they brought in a bunch of garbage companies, it wouldn't look good to the higher-ups. But the big corporations only recruited from top-tier universities. Director Shaw, out of options, had turned his attention to Wyatt. He had known about this particular student for a while. The university president had even mentioned Wyatt in a meeting. That's why he had Ms. Sutton call him to his office. However, Wyatt put on a troubled expression. Director Shaw, my company is just starting out. We actually have enough staff right now. Wyatt, you're a student at our university. You should know that while we may not be NYU or Fordham, we have our own strengths in certain fields. The president has mentioned you to me on several occasions. So on this matter, I hope you can lend us a hand. After a great show of hesitation, Wyatt reluctantly agreed. All right, but I can only hire 5 people at most. Add 2 more. There are quite a few excellent students among this year's graduates. 7 then. I really can't add any more. Good. I'll have someone add you to the group chat later. I'll announce the specific time for the job fair in there. Oh, right, your company offers benefits, right? Social Security and all that? This affects the school's employment rate. We do. Excellent. After leaving the administration building, Wyatt didn't go back to his dorm. Instead, he went to the e-commerce company. The office was now filled with new faces. Megan had graduated and left before the summer, and Ruby had also moved on. But when Wyatt walked in, the current employees still recognized him. After a simple greeting, he walked over to Alex. How's it going? Are you managing okay? Alex nodded. It's fine. Wyatt didn't say much more, just patted Alex on the shoulder and left the office. In truth, Lily had tried to find Alex again over the weekend, saying things like, it was all a misunderstanding, it's not what you think. She seemed to believe that if she just explained herself properly, she and Alex could go back to how they were. But she had underestimated how cold a man can become after being hurt. Alex didn't engage. He didn't say a word, just quietly walked away, his eyes so cold that Lily found him a stranger. In early November, a cold front arrived, and the temperature in New York City dropped into the single digits. That morning, after getting out of bed, Wyatt video called Cece. She was surprised, as he rarely called her at this hour. She answered the call and asked curiously, "Why are you calling me so early?" "Show me how many layers you're wearing today," Wyatt said directly. 2. Cece adjusted the angle of her phone to show him the down jacket she was wearing. For any decent quality down jacket, the fewer layers you wore underneath, the warmer you'd be. So Wyatt quickly asked, "And on the bottom?" Cece answered guiltily, "Just jeans. What about thermal underwear?" "I'm not cold," Cece mumbled. "I'm giving you 5 minutes to put on a pair of thermals," Wyatt commanded authoritatively. "Or I'm calling your mom right now to tattle. You're so annoying. Hurry up." Okay, I know." After hanging up, Cece obediently pulled a pair of thermal leggings from her closet and put them on. Isabelle sighed dramatically. "I wish I had a boyfriend who cared if I was wearing thermals in the morning. That idiot Michael just tells me to drink more water." Sophie chimed in, "Leo's the same. I told him if he tells me to drink more water one more time, I'm not talking to him for 3 days." Their comments made Ashley burst out laughing. After changing, Cece lifted her pant leg, took a picture, and sent it to Wyatt. She was genuinely afraid he would tell on her to her mom. She knew other people wouldn't do something like that, but Wyatt definitely would. Wyatt saw the picture and sent back a voice message. "It's getting colder. Take care of yourself and don't catch a cold. Cece, you too." Wyatt smiled, slipped his phone into his jacket pocket, and as he was putting on his shoes, said to Chris, "I got a message from Director Shaw. The job fair is tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the gym. When you get to the office, remember to print some applications and brochures. There's an info session at 2 p.m. You'll be in charge of the job fair in the morning, and I'll handle the presentation." Got it. Universities typically held 2 job fairs a year. One around March, called the Spring Fair, and one around November, the Fall Fair. For graduating seniors, these 2 events were crucial. Missing them would make the job search significantly harder. The company's business was gradually expanding, so now was the perfect time to hire. After all, much of what students learned in school wasn't immediately applicable in the real world. It took a considerable amount of time to train them for the job. The reason Wyatt had acted so reluctant with Director Shaw was simply to make the director owe him one. If he ever needed the university's help in the future, it would be a bargaining chip. The next day at 8 in the morning, Chris and Rachel arrived at the university gymnasium. The vast floor was already set up with rows of tables, each with a banner overhead displaying a company's name. Chris found the spot for C. Investments and had Rachel set up their pop-up banner in front. The fair wasn't supposed to start until 9, but just after 8, students were already arriving, backpacks on and resumes in hand. Before long, 2 senior girls sat down in front of Chris. He quickly sat up straight, a professional smile on his face. "Hi, I was wondering, is the owner of your company that sophomore from our school, Wyatt Hall?" Chris nodded. "That's right. What positions are you hiring for?" "We're hiring for several positions this time. The investment department needs 2 interns, the legal department needs 1, and the finance department needs 2. But the requirements for these roles are quite high. You need strong professional skills and relevant certifications. We also have an administrative position and an HR position, which have slightly lower requirements." "Is it a Monday to Friday work week?" "That's right, and we generally don't require overtime unless the company is extremely busy. The internship period is 1 month, with pay at 80% of the standard salary, but we do cover benefits during the internship. Our company's salary might not be the highest, but the opportunities for growth are definitely the greatest. And if you come work for us, there's another benefit that other companies don't have." "What's that?" "Our office is in the Vibe building, very close to campus. You won't have to worry about housing or food before you graduate." That was a benefit no other company could offer. Chris's words immediately attracted a large crowd. After learning about the available positions, everyone started asking Rachel for applications and filling them out nearby. Those who hadn't decided on a company yet saw the crowd around the C investments table and drifted over to see what the commotion was about. Suddenly, C investments had become the hottest company at the job fair. This surprised Chris, but it also made him very proud. Next to them was a company called Precision Accounting Solutions. Their booth was also manned by a man and a woman. The man was about 35, with a middle part and frameless glasses. The woman next to him was young, probably in her early 20s. While not stunning, she was cute and had a quiet demeanor. The man in glasses saw how popular the booth next door was and felt a flicker of curiosity about the unheard-of company. But he wasn't envious. College students were a dime a dozen these days. He wasn't worried about finding recruits. He was just here to fulfill a company quota. He averted his gaze and looked at his female assistant. He pushed his glasses up with his middle finger, his eyes scanning her from top to bottom before lingering on her rear. Seeing that no one was at their table, he suddenly reached out and touched her thigh. The young woman flinched and immediately moved away, grabbing a stack of brochures from the table to hand out to passing students. Rachel had seen the entire exchange. Eventually, the man in glasses noticed her watching him. He didn't look embarrassed at all. Instead, he flashed a sleazy grin. The job fair went very smoothly. In one morning, Chris collected over 100 applications. By 11:30, as other companies began to pack up, he and Rachel drove back to the office. At noon, the team gathered in the break room to eat takeout. Wyatt flipped through the resumes and said with a smile, "There are some really talented people here. Travis, take a look at this one." Travis Tang took the resume from Wyatt. After glancing at the personal information, his eyes focused on the skills and awards section. Master's degree from the law school, already passed the bar, and has CPA and actuary certifications. 2 internships, too. "What do you think?" Wyatt asked. "Looks great on paper." "I'm telling you all now," Wyatt said. "At the interviews tomorrow morning, you guys need to be there. You'll be the ones training them later. We've got plenty of resumes, so we're only picking the best of the best." "Got it." Chris took a bite of his food and said smugly, "Out of all the companies at the fair, besides a few well-known investment banks, we probably receive the most resumes. Where's the info session this afternoon?" "In Building 6, Room 303. I've already made a group chat and told them to be there at 2. But you need to watch the time. We have to be done by 3. After we're finished, another company is using the room." "Okay." Once Wyatt and the guys had finished their business talk, Rachel started gossiping with the other female colleagues. "You guys, I saw someone getting sexually harassed at the job fair this morning." "What? For real?" Rachel's one sentence immediately piqued their curiosity, and they all started asking for details. "Yeah, I saw with my own eyes," Rachel said, nodding. "It was the company next to us, Precision Accounting Solutions. The guy with the glasses was so creepy. I saw him touch his female colleague's leg. When he noticed me watching, he just smirked at me. It was so disgusting." Chris laughed. "How come I didn't see that?" "You were busy talking to the students. You probably didn't notice." "Now that you mention it, I do remember him," Chris said. "The guy next to us did look pretty sleazy. Middle part, really small eyes. But maybe they're a couple." "Definitely not," Rachel said firmly. "I saw her flinch and move away as soon as he touched her. It was obvious she was uncomfortable." "Wow, that's so awful." Wyatt took a nap at the office. At 1:30, he drove Carter, Travis, Chris, and Rachel to the university. The students' enthusiasm was high. Even though he had said in the group chat that the info session started at 2, when Wyatt arrived, the first few rows of the classroom were already full. There were even some freshman girls who had heard about it from somewhere, waiting in the hallway. The moment Wyatt appeared around the corner, they started squealing with excitement. Seeing this, Rachel couldn't help but think to herself, wow, the boss is really popular at school. At the gym that morning, surrounded by other companies, Chris hadn't felt nervous. But now, standing at the door of the classroom and seeing it filled with people, he felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He knew that if he had to go up on stage, he would definitely choke. But Wyatt was as calm as could be. He strode to the front of the room, glanced at the time, and said to the audience, "It's 1:50 right now. Some students haven't arrived yet, so we'll wait another 10 minutes. Our presentation will officially begin at 2 o'clock. Those who are here can sign the attendance sheet. We'll also have a Q&A session, so if you have any questions, you can start thinking about them now." Rachel went to the front and passed the sign-in sheet to the first student in the front row, then returned to the doorway. Over the next 10 minutes, more people trickled in until there were no seats left. Students started standing in the empty spaces at the back of the room. At 2 o'clock, the info session began. Wyatt hadn't prepared anything. He walked up to the podium and said, his voice just loud enough to fill the room, "All right, if everyone could please quiet down, we're about to begin." The students cooperated, and the classroom quickly fell silent. Those of you who know me know that I'm currently a sophomore here. So technically, you're all my upperclassmen. But since we're here today as a company, I hope you'll at least call me Wyatt, not little bro. The room chuckled. Wyatt had broken the ice. He then began his speech. "I'll give you a brief introduction to our company. Although we were founded recently, we're already well established. Our current staff." Wyatt spoke eloquently for over 10 minutes, covering the company's basic situation before moving on to the positions they were hiring for and their responsibilities. Then came the part everyone was waiting for, the Q&A session. Their questions were predictable. Is it a 5-day work week? What are the opportunities for personal growth? What are the company's future prospects? After answering each question, Wyatt continued, "Although our company is young, our management team is made up of seasoned veterans with extensive experience. Let me introduce them. First, our head of investments, Kloe. He previously worked at one of the top 5 investment firms in New York. The well-known project The Last Ember was one of his. Next is the head of our legal department, Travis Tang. He's a Fordham graduate and previously worked at a top Wall Street law firm. Those of you studying law should know the name. Now, I'll turn the rest of the time over to them. If you have any questions, you can ask them." With that, Wyatt stepped down from the podium. Carter and Travis, who had been unexpectedly called out, were caught completely off guard. "Wait, what's going on? No one told me I had to give a speech." But with so many people watching, Carter had no choice but to swallow his nerves and walk up to the podium. Wyatt smiled and headed for the classroom door. Chris saw him leaving and quickly asked, "It's not over. Where are you going?" "To take a leak." Wyatt walked off in the direction of the restrooms. And at that very moment, by the restroom entrance, the man in glasses Rachel had described was talking to his female colleague. But the topic of their conversation had nothing to do with the job fair. After the info session, find a hotel near campus and book a room. "We're staying here tonight. I have to interview them tomorrow morning. The session ends at 4 at the latest. Why not just finish the interviews this afternoon? I'm head of HR. I decide how the process works. Just do what I say." Todd pinched the bridge of his nose and smirked at his female colleague. "Oh, right. The company will reimburse the hotel room, but only one room. So, you get what I mean, right? In that case, I'll just take the subway home after the session and come back early tomorrow morning. I won't be late." The young woman turned to leave, but Todd immediately blocked her path, his voice rising with agitation. "Abby, with your degree and your qualifications, do you really think you would have gotten this job if I hadn't pulled some strings for you?" At the sound of her name, Abby's face turned pale. Seeing her silence, Todd pressed on. "If I had the power to get you in, I have the power to get you out. Think about it. Do you really think someone with your background can find another job in Philly with this kind of salary?" Abby remained silent, her eyes burning with disgust. Todd let out a cold, dismissive laugh. "That's just how life is. If you want to get something, you have to give something up. The info session is about to start. I'm going to head over to the classroom. I hope you'll think carefully about what's more important, this great job or that thing you're holding on to." With that, his footsteps faded down the hall, and he disappeared from sight. His words echoed in her mind, and a profound sense of injustice washed over Abby. She had graduated from a small, private college, not prestigious, but for the tiny town she grew up in, a bachelor's degree was a rare achievement. The tuition had been crippling. To afford it, her family had taken out student loans and borrowed from relatives. Her aging parents were still working just to pay it all back. To ease their burden, 22-year-old Abby had come to Philadelphia alone to make her way. The night she got the offer from this firm, she'd been too ecstatic to sleep. She thought everything was finally turning around. She never imagined that Todd, the HR manager, had other intentions. He'd been subtle at the office, but out here at the job fair, the mask was off completely. Abby didn't know what to do. On one hand, there was the job she desperately needed. On the other, the line she refused to cross. It felt like a multiple-choice question where every answer was wrong. The more she thought, the more the tears welled in her eyes. Just then, Wyatt, having heard the faint sound of sobbing, emerged from one of the bathroom stalls. The moment he appeared, Abby spun around, staring at the wall, not wanting anyone to see her in such a vulnerable state. He hadn't caught every word of their conversation, but he'd gotten the gist. It clicked with the gossip Rachel had been spreading at the office that afternoon. The sleazy manager she'd been talking about had to be the guy who was just here with Abby. Wyatt pulled a tissue from his pocket, wiped his hands, and then walked over to her. He held out a clean one. The simple gesture was all it took for Abby's composure to shatter. "Thank you," she choked out, her voice thick with tears. "Don't tell me you're actually going to give in to that creep," Wyatt said bluntly. The suddenness of his words made Abby's eyes go wide. She stared at him, bewildered. "I couldn't help but overhear," he said. "Let me give you some advice. You can always find another job. You can't get your self-respect back." Abby assumed he was just another student here for the job fair. The thought of a stranger knowing her humiliating situation was mortifying. "Please," she whispered, "can you not tell anyone about this?" "Of course," Wyatt said. Then he asked casually, "Where are you from?" "Do you know a town called Shiloh?" Seeing his blank look, she added, "It's in the same part of Pennsylvania as Riverwood." "I'm from Riverwood." "Really?" A small, watery smile broke through her tears. "Well, I guess that makes us practically neighbors." Her mood lifted slightly. Wyatt brought the conversation back to the point. "So, have you figured out what you're going to do?" Abby sniffled, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "What else can I do? I'll go back to the office tomorrow and quit. I just hope they give me my last paycheck, or I won't even be able to make rent." "What's your job at the company?" "The title is clerk, but really, I'm just the office gopher. Anyone can ask me to do anything." "What's the pay?" "Right now, it's $3,500 a month. After my 3-month probation, it would go up to $4,000. My college wasn't great, so I was really happy to get that." Seeing the forced smile on her face, Wyatt felt a pang of sympathy. A young woman trying to make it on her own in a big city, already dealing with a scumbag boss and his disgusting power plays. Not many people could truly understand what that felt like. But since he'd stumbled into it, and since she was practically a neighbor, he couldn't just walk away. Wyatt pulled a business card from his pocket and held it out to her. "This is my card," he said with a small smile. "After you quit, you can come work for my company. I'll match your salary." Abby froze, staring at the card for a long moment before finally taking it. When she read the text, her jaw dropped. "You're the owner of C.V. Investments." "That's me. Were you serious about what you just said?" "I keep my promises." It was as if Abby had finally had enough. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a desperate hope. "If I go back to the office and quit right now, how soon could I start working for you?" "Any time." "Then I'm going back right now." "What about the info session?" "I'm quitting. Why should I care about that?" Abby wiped the corners of her eyes with the tissue and, for the first time, let out a curse. "That bastard Todd. I hope he gets hit by a car on his way home tomorrow. No, I hope he drops dead tonight." With that, she turned and stormed down the stairs. Wyatt stood there for a second, then burst out laughing. Just as he was about to head back to the classroom to wrap up the info session, Todd came walking toward him, phone pressed to his ear, furiously redialing. But the only response was the automated message. "The number you have dialed is not available. Please try again later." Abby was true to her word. That afternoon, she went back to Precision Accounting and submitted her resignation. By chance, the firm's vice president was nearby and asked why she was leaving. Abby was hesitant to say, but the VP had always been decent to her, so she explained the situation in a roundabout way. The moment the VP heard Todd's name, he immediately pulled Abby into the owner's office and had her recount the story. As Abby explained what had happened, the owner's face grew darker and darker. Perhaps she had already been looking for a reason to get rid of Todd, because she grabbed her phone, called him on the spot, and tore him a new one, ordering him back to the office immediately. After hanging up, the owner turned to Abby. "I will definitely handle this. I haven't signed your resignation form yet. If you're sure you want to leave, I'll have finance settle your pay right now. But if you want to stay, you can take it back." Abby hadn't expected things to unfold this way. She hesitated for a full 2 minutes before finally saying, "Thank you, ma'am, but I'd still like to resign." She had 3 reasons. First, she didn't know how the owner would actually punish Todd. If it was just a slap on the wrist, and he stayed, her life would be hell. Second, she wasn't happy here. The office atmosphere was oppressive, and she didn't connect with her colleagues. The third and most important reason was Wyatt. He seemed like a good person, and his company, investments, had been incredibly popular at the job fair. She felt this was an opportunity she couldn't miss. With her paperwork done, Abby walked out of the office building feeling a lightness she hadn't experienced in months. On the bus ride back to her apartment, she stared at the gold-embossed business card in her hand, debating whether to call Wyatt and confirm his offer was real. He had promised she could start any time, but for a girl with very little sense of security, she needed to hear that reassurance one more time. But it seemed she had used up all her courage for the day. By the time the bus reached her stop, she still hadn't made the call. Back in her cramped studio apartment, Abby sat for a while before filling a small pot with water to boil on the stove. She took a half-empty bag of frozen dumplings from the freezer, dumped them into the pot, and ate them one by one while sitting on the edge of her bed. Around 6, a video call from her parents came through. When you're living far from home, their calls are always the same. Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping well? Are you happy at work? Abby smiled through the whole conversation, assuring them that everything was great. But the moment the call ended, her expression fell. Outside her window, rows of skyscrapers pierced the sky, and the streets below were a river of headlights. She stared out, feeling like a complete outsider. Just then, her old Android phone buzzed on the table. Abby picked it up. The number wasn't saved in her contacts, but her heart leaped. After staring at Wyatt's business card for the entire bus ride, she knew the number by heart. She quickly answered, her voice a nervous, "Hello?" Wyatt's cheerful voice came through the line. "So, did you quit?" "I did. My boss already approved it." "Great. Report to the office tomorrow morning before 9. I'll have someone get you set up with the paperwork." "How far do you live from the campus you were at today?" "About an hour and a half by subway." "What are you going to do about housing?" "I'll stay put for now. I've already paid this month's rent." "It's not that bad. My cell is also my number on Messenger. If you have any problems, just let me know." "Okay," Abby asked timidly, "but you never told me. What will I be doing at your company?" Wyatt chuckled. "You're going to be my assistant." "Oh." The next morning, everyone from dorm room 201 was skipping class except for Alex. Wyatt, Chris, and Sam were all absent, though Wyatt had given Ms. Sutton a heads up, using the job fair interviews as an excuse. Just as Wyatt sat down in his office, a video call came in from Vivian. She'd recently been thinking about opening a brick-and-mortar store and wanted his opinion. Wyatt thought a physical store was a big investment and could wait. He suggested she expand her online presence first, opening shops on platforms like Amazon, eBay, and other online marketplaces to boost sales with her existing staff. As they were talking, 2 messages from Abby popped up on Wyatt's screen. "Mr. Evans, I'm downstairs, but I can't figure out how to get up." Image attached. Wyatt saw the message and said to Vivian, "Something just came up. Can we talk more about this tonight?" "Sure." Just then, Sam came into the office with a file related to the OFO bike share project for Wyatt to sign. "The first interview candidates are here," he said. "Rachel is with them." "Great," Wyatt said. "Can you do me a favor and go downstairs to get someone for me?" "Who?" "Her name is Ma-jong. She's downstairs right now. You should see her as soon as you get out of the elevator." "Okay." Sam handed the file to Carter Liu and took the elevator down to the lobby. As he stepped out of the elevator, he nearly collided with Abby, who had just found the elevator bank. He was looking down. She was looking up. Their eyes met for a brief second. Sam quickly stepped aside, and Abby hurried into the elevator. Sam walked to the building's main entrance, but didn't see a soul. He frowned, about to message Wyatt, when it dawned on him that the girl at the elevator was probably Abby. He quickly got back on the elevator and went back up. Meanwhile, Abby was standing outside the glass doors of C. Investments, waiting for someone to let her in. "Excuse me." Sam's quiet voice came from behind her. "Are you Ma-jong?" Abby spun around. When her eyes met Sam's, she nodded with a quick, nervous smile. "Yes, that's me. I was just coming down to get you," Sam explained. "Looks like we just missed each other. It's my fault I'm so clumsy. I couldn't even find the elevator." Sam gave a shy smile, unlocked the glass door with his fingerprint, and gestured inside. "Should I take you directly to our boss's office?" "Yes, please. Thank you." As Abby followed Sam toward Wyatt's office, she took in the modern workspace and the busy employees. Her gaze landed back on Sam's shoulders, and a genuine, happy smile spread across her face. Seeing Sam return with Abby, Wyatt stepped out of his office and called Chris and Rachel over. Chris had never met Abby, but he'd overheard Wyatt's phone call with her the night before, so he knew what was happening. Rachel, however, stared at Abby with wide eyes. "Mr. Evans, how is she?" Wyatt smiled. "From now on, you two are colleagues. This is Rachel. Her situation was pretty similar to yours. Why don't you shadow her today and get familiar with the company? Rachel, set her up at the desk closest to my office. She'll be my new assistant. You got it. Chris, get her set up with the new hire paperwork and register her fingerprint for the door. On it. Abby quickly got up and followed Rachel. Wyatt then called Carter, Lou, and Travis Tang into the conference room to start the morning's interviews. Since coming to see investments, Rachel's personality had blossomed in the relaxed environment. As they walked away from Wyatt's office, she peppered Abby with questions. Finally, Abby laughed. Just yesterday in my old company, I was telling my co-workers about you. Yesterday? Yeah. At the job fair, I saw that creep bothering you. Our boss is seriously the best. I was on the verge of having to leave Philly too when he hired me. How old is our boss? He looks so young. He's still in college, Rachel said with a giggle. But he's incredibly capable. You definitely won't regret coming here. Then she asked curiously, by the way, have you found a place to live yet? Not yet. I was planning to wait until the end of the month to find something a little closer to the office. The person who was renting a room in my apartment just moved out. Are you interested? Where is it? Only a 20-minute subway ride from here, and the rent is cheap. After the morning interviews, Wyatt, Carter, Travis, Cheryl, and Chris finalized the hiring list. Among the 7 new hires, 4 had master's degrees. The barrier to entry in finance was high, so a large number of students at Fordham's Business School went on to get a graduate degree. With the new additions, the company had grown to over 20 people. Seeing the office fill up with more and more faces gave Wyatt a deep sense of accomplishment. On Thursday evening, Kloe made a big decision. She was going to spend the weekend in Brooklyn with Wyatt. The last time she'd visited was during their freshman year. She wanted to see how his life had changed, and she was curious to see his company for herself. Just as she was about to tell Wyatt, a video call came in from Miranda. Kloe drew the curtain around her bed, put in her headphones, and answered. Hi, Mom. Can you hear me? I can. Miranda was sitting in her office chair, smiling. In bed so early? It's cold out here. Make sure you dress warmly for class. Don't catch a cold. I know, that dork. Kloe caught herself before the affectionate insult slipped out. That guy sent me a message every morning asking if I'm wearing long johns. It's so annoying. Miranda's smile widened. She was glad someone else was looking out for her daughter. Is Wyatt coming to see you this weekend? He hasn't said, but I was planning on going to see him. Kloe had barely finished her sentence when Miranda laughed. It's about time you went. Huh? Do all your friends and classmates know about you and Wyatt now? Yeah. Then it's time for Wyatt's friends and classmates to know about you and him. Miranda's tone grew serious, imparting a piece of motherly wisdom. Wyatt's career is taking off, which means he'll be dealing with a lot of people. When a girl is pretty, a lot of guys will pursue her. And when a guy is that successful, you can be sure a lot of girls have their eyes on him. Do you understand what I'm saying? Kloe nodded, a little embarrassed. Also, Miranda continued, I know you two have spent the night together. There are some things I can't say to Wyatt, but you need to remember that you haven't graduated yet. You must be careful and use protection. The comment made Chloe's face turn beet red. Mom, we haven't, she blurted out. I've been there. We really haven't. Kloe insisted. All right, you haven't. Just consider it a reminder from your mother. Kloe, desperate to change the subject, quickly found an excuse to end the call. Miranda watched the screen go dark and shook her head with an amused, helpless sigh. Knock, knock. Just as Miranda put her phone down, there was a knock on her office door. Assuming it was her assistant, she called out, Come in. But when the door opened, it was Charles standing there. Miranda was stunned. What are you doing here? You were just here last week. And it's only Thursday. I brought you 2 lattes. Not too much sugar, and they're still hot. See what you think. I asked you a question. Work at the bank. Wasn't too busy, so I came over. Who are you trying to fool? It's almost the end of the year. How could the bank not be busy? Charles grinned sheepishly. Well, I'm here now. You're not going to kick me out, are you? Miranda rolled her eyes but took the latte he offered. She poked a straw through the lid and took a sip. It was still perfectly warm. She took a few more sips. She didn't know that he had carried them inside his coat the whole way there just to keep them warm. Seeing her drink it, Charles broke into a foolish grin. What are you smiling at? Let me tell you, I'm not some naive little girl. Don't think you can win me back that easily. Miranda stood up, wrapped a thick coat around herself, and prepared to head home. Seeing Charles still standing there like a statue, she sighed. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Oh, my purse. You really have no sense at all. Charles obediently picked up Miranda's purse and followed her like a well-behaved puppy as they left the office. After finishing up his work, Wyatt lay down in bed and, as was his nightly ritual, video called Kloe. She had been waiting. The moment the call came through, she answered. Hey there. Did you miss me today? Nope. Kloe, you liar. Your mouth is getting tougher. I have to tell you something. Go ahead. I want to come visit you this weekend. What made you suddenly decide to come over? You don't want me to? How can I not? Then you'll come pick me up tomorrow afternoon. That means I have to make an extra trip. You're not willing. It's not that I'm not willing. It's just if you're going to make me work so hard, you should at least give me a little reward. What kind of reward do you want? Hee hee, I don't. You're smiling. You totally know. I really don't. Kloe, what? Have I ever told you that you look really beautiful when you smile? No. Smile again. I want to take a screenshot. No way. Just one smile. Please. Nope. On Friday morning, Kloe woke up early. Her mother's words from the night before had resonated with her, sparking a tiny flicker of insecurity. So, she decided to put in extra effort today, a carefully chosen outfit and a full face of makeup. She wanted to send a clear message to any potential rivals. This dork is mine. None of you stand a chance. She opened her closet, which was packed with fall and winter clothes. And this was only part of her wardrobe. The rest was stored in suitcases. Her indecisiveness kicked in. She pulled out several jackets, tried them on, and rejected them all. Seeing Isabelle stir from her bed, Kloe rushed over and whispered, "Isabelle, I'm going to Wyatt's this weekend. Can you help me pick out an outfit?" Isabelle guessed Chloe's intentions immediately, but decided to tease her. "You have such a great figure. You look good in anything." Chloe's voice dropped even lower. "I want to try a different style." "All right, let me see." Isabelle, of course, knew exactly what Kloe was thinking. She'd gone through the same deliberation before her last meeting with Michael Zhao at Apex Capital. With an experienced eye, she quickly selected a dark gray fleece jacket. Wear this with a pair of skinny jeans and some boots. I guarantee it'll make that guy's jaw drop. Okay, Kloe followed Isabelle's advice, changing into the outfit. She checked herself in the full-length mirror by the door and, satisfied, finalized her choice. Her usual style was very much that of a typical college girl, but today's look was far more mature and sophisticated. In short, it was a vibe. So, satisfied? Yeah. Isabelle draped an arm over Chloe's shoulder and whispered with a laugh, "I can't wait to see Wyatt's reaction when he sees you this afternoon. You're such a gossip. Kloe, look at you. You're learning how to insult people now. I learned from the best." "No way. I never say anything mean like ever." "Ugh, so gross." Kloe fired back. "Save the baby talk for Michael. Please don't ever use it on us again. Get out of here." Ever since the university president had called him in for a chat, Wyatt rarely attended classes anymore. With the job fair handled and less than 2 months until final exams, Chris, Sam, and Alex were all dutifully in their seats on Friday morning. Around 9 Ms. Sutton sent Wyatt a message. "Why weren't you in class again today?" Wyatt replied, "I'm busy, Ms. Sutton." He snapped a picture of the stack of documents on his desk, waiting for his signature, and sent it to her. She replied quickly, "If you have time, try to show up. I've heard some rumors that the faculty wants to give you a Student Excellence Award at the end of the year." Wyatt, "Me? An Excellence Award? Ms. Sutton, are you kidding me?" Ms. Sutton, "Trust me, I find it as bizarre as you do. But when you think about it, there's a reason for their decision. If your company gets bigger and the media comes to the university for an interview, they can't exactly say you were a delinquent who skipped class all the time, can they? Wyatt, the university really thinks long-term." Ms. Sutton, "So, at least try to make an appearance. Otherwise, I'll be too embarrassed to even announce it in the group chat." Wyatt, "You got it. Starting next week, if I have nothing else to do, I'll go to class to sleep." Wyatt, to listen." Ms. Sutton. After spending half an hour on company matters, Wyatt, bored, started wandering around the main office area. The 7 new hires from the job fair, plus Abby, were all at their desks. Even though the company didn't have an active project for them, Carter, Travis, and Cheryl had given the new intern the case study to work on, aiming to transition them from students to professionals as quickly as possible. At 10:30, Jessica Evans suddenly burst out of the finance office, looking excited. "Wyatt, the payment for the last Ember came through." Wyatt quickly walked over. "When did it arrive?" "Just now." "Is the amount correct?" "It is." "Fantastic." After investing in several projects, the company's bank account had been running low. This infusion of cash was a much-needed lifeline. Having tasted success, Wyatt found Carter to chat about future film investments. Carter felt that such opportunities were rare and hard to come by. Wyatt understood, but added, "If another chance like this comes up, we should definitely try again." After grabbing takeout for lunch and taking a short 30-minute break in his office, Wyatt drove toward the Juilliard campus. Since winter had set in, Riverwood had hardly seen a sunny day, and today was another overcast one. He arrived early at the dorm building, sent Kloe a text, and waited in the car. 5 minutes later, Kloe emerged from the dorm, carrying a small bag. Wyatt almost didn't recognize her. Her style today was a complete departure from her usual look. She had gone from a sweet girl next door to a chic, sophisticated woman. She looked fantastic. Kloe opened the passenger door and slid in. Seeing Wyatt staring at her, she asked with feigned innocence, "Why are you looking at me like that? You look so beautiful today." Kloe immediately broke into a smile. That one sentence made waking up early, picking out an outfit, and doing her makeup completely worth it. This was what they called emotional value. She playfully pinched his ear. "So you're saying I was ugly before?" "No." Wyatt grinned. "I'm saying you look especially beautiful today. I've never seen you in this style before." "Oomph." Kloe let go and pouted. "Just drive. Kiss me first." "No, I just put on lipstick." "Come on, or I'm parking the car right here, and we'll just spend the night in the car." Kloe pouted, thinking, "There's no winning with you." She leaned over and planted a soft kiss on his cheek. When she sat back, she noticed the lipstick mark wasn't very obvious. Remembering her mother's advice from the night before, she leaned in again, this time leaving a much more visible print. Then she said in a commanding tone, "You're not allowed to wipe that off." "Fine by me. How about one on the left cheek, too?" "No way. Now drive." Wyatt laughed, stepped on the gas, and headed for Brooklyn. "Are we almost there?" Kloe asked, looking at the passing scenery. Wyatt nodded. "Yeah, almost. I'll take you to the hotel first. Then I'll go back to my dorm to grab a change of clothes. I'm not going back to school for the next 2 days." A thought occurred to Kloe. "Is your company closed on the weekends?" "Yeah." "Then take me to your office first. I haven't seen it yet." Wyatt agreed without hesitation. After all, see, investments was partly hers, not just in name, but in shares, too. It was a condition he'd agreed to when he borrowed money from his mother-in-law. Even though Miranda had never brought it up again, Wyatt hadn't forgotten. He parked in the garage of the Vibe building. Kloe left her bag in the car. As she got out, Wyatt was already standing there with his hand outstretched. She ran over and placed her small hand in his. They walked hand in hand into the elevator. When it stopped, Kloe pulled her hand back and instead looped her arm through his, a gesture that felt even more intimate. Rachel, at the front desk, saw Wyatt walking toward the office with Kloe and instantly knew who she was. She proactively opened the main door, a cheerful smile on her face. "Mr. Evans, is this your girlfriend?" Wyatt grinned back. "Do you even need to ask? Your girlfriend is so pretty. You're just a sweet talker." While Wyatt and Rachel were talking, Kloe sized Rachel up, silently thinking, "Danger level, 3 stars." They walked into the main office area. The company had about 20 employees, and the gender ratio was surprisingly balanced. Kloe continued her silent assessment as she walked. Danger level, 2 stars. Danger level, 1 star. She scanned the entire office, but found no female employee who rated a 4-star danger level. Her preconceived notion that Wyatt was surrounded by vixens was shattered. "Abby, can you bring 2 cups of tea in my office?" Wyatt said over his shoulder as they reached his door. "Of course." Abby immediately stood up and headed for the break room. Kloe stepped into the office, first taking in Wyatt's workspace, then asking curiously, "Why is that girl's desk so close to your office?" "She's my assistant. It's more convenient for me to have her close by." Kloe's hand snaked inside Wyatt's shirt, pinching a small piece of flesh at his waist. "You never told me you had an assistant," she pouted. "I just hired her yesterday," Wyatt explained. "I told you I went to the job fair and hired a new batch of employees." "I don't care. You still should have told me." Fine. From now on, I'll report how many meals I eat and how many times I go to the bathroom every day." "How's that?" "You." Kloe was about to unleash her fury when she saw someone approaching outside. She quickly sat down on the chair. Abby knocked and entered, handing 1 cup of tea to Wyatt and the other to Kloe. She had already guessed Kloe's identity when they walked in, so she offered a small, friendly smile as she passed Kloe the cup. "Thank you." After a polite, "You're welcome," Abby left. A moment later, Chris pushed the door open. Seeing Kloe, he asked with a grin, "Should I come back later?" "Cut the crap. What's up?" "I was just..." As Wyatt and Chris started talking about work, Kloe sat on the sofa, took out her phone, and snapped a picture of Wyatt's office to send her mother. Miranda replied instantly. "You're at Wyatt's company?" "Kloe, yeah." "Miranda, how is it?" "Kloe, there are over 20 people." "Miranda, is this your first time there?" "Kloe, yeah." "Miranda, then you should buy everyone in the office a cup of coffee." "Miranda, let them all get to know you." It was only after reading the last sentence that Kloe understood her mother's real meaning. She replied with an okay. Looking up, she saw Wyatt was still chatting with Chris. After a moment's thought, she stood up, walked out of the office, and approached Abby's desk. She leaned down slightly, her voice gentle. "Hi, can you help me with something?" Abby smiled brightly. Of course. I'm not familiar with the area. Could you count how many people are in the office and help me buy some coffee for everyone? I'll Venmo you the money. I can just go buy it first. That works too. Let's add each other on Messenger. Okay. After adding each other, Abby stood up and headed for the door. Worried she couldn't carry so many coffees alone, she asked Rachel to go with her. About half an hour later, they returned and started handing out coffees. Someone immediately asked, Rachel, is this a company treat? In your dreams. This is from the boss's girlfriend. Hearing the chatter outside, Wyatt and Chris came out of the office. Seeing Rachel and Abby distributing coffee, Chris asked with a smile, Rachel, where'd the coffee come from? Kloe, standing close to Wyatt, replied with a smile, it's my treat for everyone. Even Wyatt was a little surprised. Rachel and Abby finished passing out the coffee and brought the last 3 cups over to Wyatt, Chris, and Kloe. Abby, still new, was a bit reserved. But Rachel, who had been at the company for a while, handed Kloe her coffee with a sweet smile and said, Thanks, lady boss. It wasn't the first time Kloe had heard that title. Wyatt's roommates had called her that when he ran the fruit market, and back then, she had been terribly embarrassed. But now, she accepted it with a calm sense of ownership. Chris shot Wyatt a look that clearly said, Your girlfriend is something else. Wyatt shrugged, as if to say, I didn't see this coming either. All right, everyone, it's about that time. You can all head home. Have a great weekend, Wyatt announced. He then took Chloe's hand and led her out of the company. As soon as they were in the car, Wyatt asked, Who taught you to do that? Kloe blinked her eyes, looking at him with an innocent expression. No one taught me. Impossible. Put your hand on your heart and say that again. Kloe actually placed her hand on her chest. Really, no one taught me. Move your hand. Let me check your heart for myself. As Wyatt reached over, Kloe slapped his hand away. Wyatt pulled his hand back. Isabelle wouldn't teach you something like this. I bet your mom told you to do it. It wasn't. You're being stubborn. It just wasn't. Still stubborn, huh? Wyatt unbuckled his seatbelt, lunged over, and captured her lips in a deep kiss. After a heated battle, he pulled back, wiped his mouth like a rogue, and nodded. All right, I was wrong. Your lips aren't hard. They're soft. Oomph. Wyatt contentedly buckled his seatbelt, about to head back to his dorm for his clothes, when Michael Zhao called. The moment Wyatt answered, Michael asked, Wyatt, where are you? At the office. About to head back to the dorm. You're not visiting your girlfriend this weekend? Nope. I brought her over here. Michael paused for a moment, then laughed. I'm thinking of faking sick to get Isabelle to come over, but I'm afraid I'll mess it up. I'm a little nervous, so I'm calling you for some pointers. Kloe, hearing this, gasped in disbelief. Oh my God, Michael is that devious? Wyatt shot a guilty glance at Kloe and replied, I've never faked being sick. Why are you asking me? But you've definitely lied to your girlfriend before, Michael shot back. Bullshit. I have not. Hearing how defensive Wyatt was, Michael asked tentatively, Is your girlfriend next to you right now? Before Wyatt could speak, Kloe grabbed his ear and shook her head menacingly. Wyatt had no choice but to surrender. She's not here. Then what are you getting so worked up about? So what do you think I should say? Just tell her I'm not feeling well? Or should I be more subtle? Wyatt felt that if this conversation continued, Kloe would know all his dirty little secrets. Just as he was about to make an excuse to hang up, Kloe tightened her grip, her eyes threatening him. You better answer him. Tell him exactly what you would normally say. Wyatt steeled himself. Screw it. I've already won her over. Whatever punishment she has in store for me tonight, I'll take it. So, he replied, tell her you can't see her this weekend. She'll definitely ask why. Tell her you have a cold. Whatever you do, don't say you have a fever. If you say fever, she can just check with a thermometer and you'll be caught. If she knows you have a cold, she'll at least ask if you've taken medicine or if you need to go to the doctor. Just say you feel too weak to move. If all goes well, that should be enough. You're the master. So experienced. All right, I gotta go. Wyatt quickly hung up. Kloe twisted his ear. Is that how you tricked me before? Of course not. You just taught Michael how to lie. You're obviously a repeat offender. Don't make it sound so bad. I'm helping Michael win over Isabelle. Besides, my work isn't done yet. As he spoke, Wyatt picked up his phone and called Isabelle. She answered quickly. Well, if it isn't the big boss, what do I owe the pleasure? Let's get straight to it. Michael is planning to fake being sick to trick you into coming over. I was wondering why he hadn't come to see me yet today. Just play along, all right? Can't you teach him something useful? His acting is terrible. The last time he pretended to be drunk was full of holes. I almost called him out on it multiple times. Wyatt laughed. Isn't that a good thing? You have him completely under your thumb. He's actually texting me right now. Okay, I'll hang up then. Kloe stared at Wyatt, her eyes wide with disbelief. She couldn't believe that 1 second he was teaching Michael how to deceive someone, and the next he was selling him out. He was coaching the liar while also telling the target to play along. What kind of twisted operation was this? Wyatt chuckled. Don't worry. I've known your roommate longer. I'm definitely on her side. Really, I'm just trying to help them get together. Oof. Kloe crossed her arms, a look of disgust on her face. All three of you are up to no good. Michael, I can't come see you this weekend. Isabelle, why not? Michael, the weather got colder and I caught a nasty cold. Isabelle, is it serious? Michael, it's okay. Michael, my throat just hurts and I have no energy. Isabelle, have you taken any medicine? Michael, no, I don't feel like going out. Michael, I didn't even go to work today. Isabelle, you have to take medicine. Isabelle, do you want to bring you some? Michael, internally ecstatic, could you? Isabelle grabbed her bag and quickly replied, wait for me. Seeing those two words, Michael almost leaped off the sofa with joy. He checked the time. It would take Isabelle about 25 minutes to get here by subway. He quickly tidied up the apartment, crumpled a bunch of tissues into balls, and tossed them into the trash can next to his bed. Lying in bed, Michael racked his brain for any other details he might have missed. He finally decided the only flaw was himself. He didn't look like a sick person at all. At that thought, he jumped out of bed, ran to the bathroom, stripped down, and turned the shower to full blast cold. Grimacing, Michael endured a freezing shower. He then scrambled back into bed. Thanks to the cold water, his body was already starting to feel warmer. At this moment, Michael was still patting himself on the back for his cleverness. He had no idea that because of this cold shower, he would end up actually getting sick. Wyatt first went back to his dorm to grab a change of clothes, then took Kloe to Metro Center Plaza for dinner. After eating, they browsed a supermarket, bought some snacks and drinks, and headed to the hotel. The hotel room here was larger. A bathroom was on the left of the entrance, and beyond that was a large bed. A short sofa was placed against the wall by the window. Kloe tossed her bag on the bed and sat on the sofa, gently massaging her calves with her fists. These boots are so uncomfortable, she grumbled. I'm never wearing them again. Here, change into these slippers. Wyatt turned on the heat and handed her a pair. Kloe rarely wore these boots. She unzipped them but struggled to pull her foot out. Seeing her struggle, Wyatt stepped over, cupped her calf with one hand, gripped the heel with the other, and with a gentle tug, freed her foot. Kloe obediently lifted her other leg. Wyatt repeated the process, and after removing the second boot, he pinched his nose and made an exaggerated U sound. His performance was so over the top that Kloe knew he was just teasing her. She kicked him playfully, slipped on the slippers, grabbed her pajamas from her bag, and disappeared into the bathroom. About 20 minutes later, she came out. Seeing Wyatt on the sofa playing on his phone, she deliberately pulled a bottle of lotion with English-only packaging from her bag, sat down next to him, and began rubbing it on her feet. Let me. Wyatt tossed his phone onto the bed, snatched the lotion from her, and insisted on taking over. Kloe huffed. Weren't you just complaining that my feet stink? What? No way, I was just teasing you. Wyatt shamelessly moved her feet onto his lap and rolled her pant legs up to her knees. Her skin, still pink from the hot shower, was as smooth and flawless as polished jade. Wyatt went to work like a top-tier massage therapist, skillfully applying the lotion to her legs. It wasn't the first time he had touched her legs, but a girl's feet were still a private area. His large hands easily encircled her calves, and the warmth from his palms spread through her body, creating a sensation that was both ticklish and incredibly pleasant. The only way to describe it was irresistible. Are you done yet? No rush, he murmured. The night is young. Hi, can I get a box of their Aflu, please? Sure. Do you have any of those dissolving cold powders? We do. I'll take a box of those, too. At the pharmacy, Isabelle took the boxes from the clerk, then smiled. Do you have any of that really old-school cold medicine? You know, those tiny white pills that are super bitter. The Theraflu should be enough for a cold. It's best not to mix different medications. All medicine has its risks, you know. All right, I'll just take these two, then. Isabelle paid, and 20 minutes later, arrived at Michael's upscale apartment building. She took the elevator up to his door. She still remembered the code. She entered it, pressed confirm, and the door clicked open. He hadn't changed it. The living room was empty. Looking down, she saw a clean pair of slippers waiting for her. Suppressing a laugh, Isabelle slipped them on and walked inside, calling out softly, Michael? Michael! Michael, already feeling unwell from his cold shower, heard her voice and quickly responded, I'm in the bedroom. Isabelle followed the sound and found him lying in bed. She walked over. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just have no energy. Seeing him like this, Isabelle was genuinely confused. Wow, when did his acting get so good? He actually looks like he has a cold. You just lie there. I'll go mix your medicine. Okay, Having been here before and explored the apartment, Isabelle was already familiar with the layout. She filled a glass with hot water, glanced at the Theraflu and the powder, and remembered the pharmacist's words. She tore open a packet of the powder, stirred it into the water, and carried the glass back to the bedroom. "Sit up and drink this." Michael propped himself up, but as soon as he sat up, a wave of dizziness hit him. He clutched his head, his face contorting in pain. "Keep acting. Let's see how long you can keep it up." Isabelle calmly watched his performance. It wasn't until she saw that his face was flushed that she frowned and asked, "Why is your face so red? Is it?" Isabelle felt something was wrong. She handed him the glass and tentatively placed her hand on his forehead. The moment her hand touched his skin, she yanked it back. After a few seconds of hesitation, she placed it on his forehead again. "Your forehead is burning up," she exclaimed. "You said you just had a cold." "I don't know what's going on," Michael said, downing the medicine in one gulp. "I was just lying here and started feeling hotter and hotter. Do you think I have a fever? Do you have a thermometer?" "Yeah, in the cabinet by the door. There's a temperature gun." Michael was on the verge of tears. He never thought taking a cold shower would actually give him a fever. Isabelle quickly found the thermometer, aimed it at his forehead, and pressed the button. The screen lit up. 101. 3° F. "It's 101. 3. You have a fever." Michael was already feeling miserable. He leaned against the headboard, cursing himself. "Michael, you idiot. Now the fake sickness is real." Isabelle was confused. It was supposed to be an act. How did it turn real? "Lie down. I'll see if there's a pharmacy nearby. I'll go get you some fever reducer." As Isabelle turned to leave, Michael grabbed her hand. "It's late, and you don't know the area. Don't go out. I'll call my assistant to bring some over. She doesn't live far." "Okay, I'll get you another glass of hot water." Michael called his assistant, Michelle Lee, who arrived about 15 minutes later with fever reducers and cooling patches. She was surprised, however, to find Isabelle, the woman she'd seen at the office, opening the door instead of Michael. "Thank you for coming all this way. It's my job. Just give the medicine to me." Michelle handed the bag to Isabelle and quickly left. On her way out, she reported back to the company chairman, "Mr. Zhao, I think Michael has a fever. He just had me deliver medicine. Ms. Wang is there, so I didn't go inside." A minute later, Walter Zhao replied with 3 words, "I am aware." Once she realized Michael was genuinely sick, Isabelle's attitude completely changed. She gave him medicine, applied a cooling patch to his forehead, and tucked him into bed, telling him to rest. She pulled up a chair and sat by his side, checking his temperature every 10 minutes. Time ticked by. Isabelle, watching over him, began to doze off. Seeing this, Michael quietly took out his phone and, mustering his strength, texted his mother, "Mom, I have a fever. Can you and Dad come over? Isabelle is here with me. I need to take her back to school so she doesn't stay here all night." Walter had already told his wife, Susan, about Michael's fever, but Susan figured that with Isabelle there, they didn't need to rush. But upon receiving their son's message, they left home immediately. A short while later, they arrived. As Walter was about to call out, Susan stopped him. She tiptoed to the bedroom door, gently pushed it open, and saw her son lying in bed with Isabelle asleep in a chair beside him, still clutching the thermometer. A wave of warmth filled Susan's heart. She stepped inside, walked up behind Isabelle, and gently stroked her hair. "Sweetheart," she whispered lovingly. Isabelle woke with a start. Seeing Walter and Susan, she instantly realized they were Michael's parents and quickly stood up. "Mr. and Mrs. Zhao," she stammered. Susan smiled and nodded, then walked over to feel Michael's forehead. "How did he suddenly get a fever?" "He probably caught a chill," Michael said quickly. "Mom, it's getting late. Can you take Isabelle back to school for me?" Susan took Isabelle's small hand, her eyes full of affection. "Come on, dear. I'll take you home. Mrs. Zhao, you don't have to. I can take the subway myself. Don't be silly, sweetheart. We're going to be family soon." Although things hadn't gone according to plan, the outcome was even better than expected. On the way back, Susan called Isabelle sweetheart so many times that Isabelle started to feel embarrassed. The only thing she couldn't figure out was how Michael had suddenly developed a real fever. It was supposed to be an act, wasn't it? After getting back to her dorm and showering, Isabelle picked up her phone and called Wyatt. At this point, he was the only one she could ask for answers. But by now, Wyatt and Kloe were fast asleep under the same blanket, his phone on silent. After several unanswered calls, Isabelle decided to try again in the morning. The night passed peacefully. The next morning, Kloe was the first to wake up. She had slept wonderfully and felt refreshed. Instead of getting up, she poked her head out from the warm covers and looked at Wyatt, lying just inches away from her. The first time she'd met him, she hadn't thought he was particularly handsome. How was it that now, the more she looked, the more she liked what she saw? Smiling, Kloe took the hand that had been resting on him and reached out. She poked his forehead, then gently pinched his cheek. When he didn't react, she mischievously pinched his nose. But when his brow furrowed, she quickly snatched her hand back, squeezed her eyes shut, and pretended nothing had happened. After a few seconds, when Wyatt's breathing evened out again, Kloe opened her eyes. Seeing he was still asleep, she silently called him a dork, a happy smile spreading across her face. Just then, Wyatt stirred. He threw one leg over hers, and the arm that was already around her waist pulled her tighter, holding her like he would pillow. Kloe squeezed her eyes shut again, her eyelashes fluttering. Wyatt's hand, which had been innocently resting on her pajama top, had now slipped inside. This jerk, he can't even behave in his sleep. Kloe didn't dare move, lying obediently in his arms. But all sleepiness was gone, and her mind was wide awake. Time seemed to slow down like the last few minutes of an exam after you've already finished and double-checked everything, just waiting for the bell to ring. Bored, Kloe looked at Wyatt's face, so close to hers, and on a whim, she leaned in and kissed him. Seeing no reaction, she peppered his face with little pecks. When she finally kissed him on the lips, he suddenly mumbled, taking advantage of me first thing in the morning. Huh? Ah! Kloe shrieked, yanking the covers over her head and giving his stomach an embarrassed pinch. Wyatt flexed his left arm, which had been her pillow all night, and his right hand began to gently stroke her smooth back. "Time to get up," he whispered. "You first." "No, you. Let's go together, then." Wyatt threw the covers off. The room, warmed by the heater all night, wasn't cold at all, but the sudden exposure made Kloe sit bolt upright, her face flushed, no longer daring to hide in his embrace. Wyatt sat up too, stretching. He fished his phone out from under his pillow and saw a missed call from Isabelle. He started dialing her back as he got out of bed. Seeing him up, Kloe quickly put on her slippers and followed him to the bathroom. Isabelle answered right away. Well, Ms. Isabelle, why were you calling me so late last night? Didn't you say Michael was faking sick? Yeah, what about it? He was really sick last night. I took his temperature myself. A fever of 101.7. What? Wyatt was stunned. No way. Would I lie to you? His parents even came over last night. I'll call and ask him later. Okay, let me know what you find out. Don't worry. We're friends for besties. Hanging up, Wyatt put his phone in his pocket. Kloe handed him his toothbrush, already loaded with toothpaste. They brushed their teeth together, then went out for breakfast. It was another overcast day, but at least it wasn't raining. Is there anywhere you want to go? Wyatt asked as they left the breakfast spot. Kloe shook her head. What do you usually do on weekends? I usually go visit you, but not always. Then I'm usually busy with company stuff. Kloe thought for a moment. Let's just walk around your campus. Seeing that Kloe wasn't in the mood for a big outing, Wyatt said, let me call my roommates and see if they're free. If they are, I'll ask them to play some basketball. I haven't been active in a while. Okay. Wyatt called Chris, who had also brought his buddy Paige to campus for the weekend. They had just woken up and had no plans, so they quickly agreed to meet at the basketball court. Wyatt then messaged Alex, who was having breakfast with some classmates at the campus dining hall. After a quick reply, their group finished eating, grabbed a basketball from their dorm, and headed over. When Wyatt and Kloe arrived at the court, Alex, Mark, and a few other classmates were already waiting. Wyatt parked on the side of the road and started taking off his jacket. Do you want to wait in the car? It might be a little cold outside. No. As Wyatt got out, Kloe hopped out of the passenger seat. Before long, Chris and Paige arrived. Kloe and Paige had met before, so while the guys went to play, the two of them sat on a nearby bench to watch and chat. That damn Chris, Paige grumbled. When I ask him to do something, he either has a million excuses or acts all annoyed. But the second Wyatt calls, he drops everything. Sometimes I wonder if they're the ones dating and I'm the third wheel. Kloe couldn't help but laugh. It's not so bad. His roommates are all really close. I hear Wyatt mention your boyfriend all the time. Those boots are so cute. Where did you get them? Honestly, they're not very comfortable. They just look good. Boots are never as comfy as sneakers. Do you have a link? Send it to me. Sure. On the court, the trash talk was flowing. Let's play 3-on-3, Alex suggested. Me, Chris, and Wyatt. Quentin, Mark, and you guys can be a team. 1st to 21, winner stays on. Sounds good. Hey, Prez, you're not going to change into basketball shoes. Quentin asked Wyatt, to beat you guys? These are more than enough. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Our team is up first, then. The guys picked teams, set the rules, and started a half-court game. They were all a little rusty at first, and Wyatt missed his first 2 shots. But after warming up, his form came back. Nice shot. Damn it, Mark. You're supposed to guard the president. Dude, I'm 5'8", he's 6 foot. How am I supposed to guard him? You stop barking and switch with me. That guy, Alex, couldn't make a layup if his life depended on it. You talking smack about me? Chris, pass me the ball. I'm going to drain a 3 in his face. If you make that, I'll call you daddy. Alex leaped into the air. His form was perfect, but the ball didn't even hit the rim. Chris grabbed the rebound and tossed it to Wyatt outside the three-point line. Wyatt caught it and grinned. Hey, Mark, if I make this, you calling me daddy? Just shoot it. Wyatt hopped, leaned back slightly, and pushed the ball forward. It sailed through the air in a perfect arc and swished through the net. Damn, that doesn't count. Screw you. The basketball court was right next to the dorms, with the track, tennis courts, and a second dining hall nearby. The path was always busy with students. As the 6 guys on the court played and traded insults, several girls walking by stopped to watch Wyatt. Kloe, smiling as she watched Wyatt, didn't notice at first. It was Paige who finally leaned over and nudged her. You do know all those girls are staring at your boyfriend, right? Huh? Kloe asked, surprised. What are you talking about? You really don't know? Let me tell you, your boyfriend is a celebrity in the business school. Chris told me that whenever he walks around with Wyatt now, their head turn rate is through the roof. Why? He's the total package, tall, successful, and handsome. How many other sophomores do you know who have their own investment firm? Chloe's eyes widened with a look of, so that's how amazing he is. She glanced at the group of fangirls by the court and felt a sudden pang of insecurity. After a moment, she grabbed Paige's hand. Let's go buy them some water. Okay. They went to the convenience store, bought enough water bottles for everyone, and returned. When they saw a break in the game, Kloe and Paige exchanged a look and walked over to the court. Water, get your water. Paige called out. Thanks. Don't thank me. It's on Wyatt's girlfriend. Quentin, Mark, and the others were meeting Kloe for the first time. Hearing Paige's words, they all grinned. Thanks, Mrs. President. Mrs. President? The title was a little awkward, but Kloe walked over to Wyatt and handed him a water bottle. Seeing the sweat on his forehead, she pulled a tissue from her pocket and stood on her tiptoes to wipe his brow. The classmates saw this and finally understood why their class president never messed around with other girls on campus. Duh, when you have a girlfriend like that, who would even look at anyone else? The small crowd of onlookers also started whispering amongst themselves. So that's Wyatt's girlfriend. She's gorgeous. All right, let's go. I can't take all this PDA. I don't think she goes to our school. Definitely not. I'm so jealous of her. Seeing that many of the girls who had been watching Wyatt play were now leaving, Kloe felt a small sense of triumph and also a bit of relief. It's a good thing I came. Otherwise, I would have never known how popular this guy is at school. I'm going to have to come here more often. Wyatt took a short break and handed Kloe his phone from the bench. Can you hold this for me? I'm afraid it'll get stepped on. Kloe took the phone, sat down, and entered their birthdays to unlock it. The wallpaper was still their couple's photo. She quickly locked it again, placed it on her lap, and looked up at Wyatt's athletic form on the court, her eyes filled with affection. Paige, however, was surprised. You're not going to check his phone? Kloe smiled. I don't need to. He's never changed the password or the wallpaper. They played for over an hour, drenched in sweat. Wyatt, Chris, and Alex walked with Kloe and Paige back to the guys' dorm. Wyatt stopped the car and sent Alex on a mission. Go see if the RA is at the front desk. If not, I'm taking them upstairs. Alex nodded and went inside. A moment later, he was back at the car. Coast is clear. Let's go. Paige had been dying to see the inside of their dorm. Kloe was a bit more hesitant. She'd never been in a guy's dorm before. Despite her curiosity, she asked before getting out, Are you sure it's okay? Don't worry, it's fine. Wyatt led Kloe straight to room 201 on the second floor. Only after the door was closed did Kloe finally relax. Paige looked around, amazed. I thought all guys' dorms were disasters. How is yours so clean? The 3 guys answered in unison. Because we have Sam. Since freshman year, Sam's bed, desk, and personal belongings had always been perfectly neat. His blanket was folded into a perfect square every day, and his desk was immaculate, as if he had a cleaning compulsion. Seeing his tidiness, the other 3 roommates had started to follow his example. As a result, their room was probably one of the cleanest in the entire dorm. Where is he? Probably at the library. Wyatt grabbed a clean set of clothes from his wardrobe and went to the bathroom to shower. Kloe sat down at his desk. There wasn't much on it. He always used Chris's computer. There were just a few essentials. A thermos, a desk lamp, a box of tissues, and some lotion. The books on his shelf were neatly arranged and looked brand new, barely touched. Kloe casually picked up a notebook from the top of the stack. Only 1 page was written on, and it wasn't class notes. But as she read it, she was completely captivated. 10 things to do in 2015. Go to bed early, wake up early, keep exercising, run the investment company well, call mom and dad once a week, stay humble, reflect on myself daily, watch a sunrise with Kloe, go on a trip with Kloe. Bring Kloe home to meet my parents. Suck up to my mother-in-law. Regularly kiss, hug, and shower Kloe with affection. Kloe quickly slammed the notebook shut. The first 5 were normal enough, but how were the last 5 all about her? Suck up to my mother-in-law, shower with affection? Those last 2 were obviously tacked on at the end. Blushing, Kloe put the notebook back, but then she quickly snatched it again. When no one was looking, she took out her phone and snapped a picture as evidence. A moment later, Wyatt came out of the bathroom. He dried his hair, hung the towel on the end of his bed, and took a hairdryer from a drawer. Kloe stood up to let him sit, then held out her hand. Wyatt smilingly handed her the hairdryer, and she began to dry his hair while he picked up his phone to message Michael. Wyatt, dude, what's your situation? Why did Isabelle say you had a fever last night? Michael, don't even ask. Michael, before she got here, I took a cold shower to look more like a patient. Michael, son of a bitch, I didn't think I'd start feeling sick right after, and then spike a high fever. Michael, I'm so screwed. Wyatt almost burst out laughing. How are you now? Michael, the fever's gone, but now I'm genuinely dizzy and have no energy. Wyatt, haha. Michael, but after last night, my parents are now fully on board with me pursuing Isabelle. Wyatt, take care of yourself. Tomorrow when I take my girlfriend back, I'll bring Isabelle along to see you. Michael, okay. Wyatt had planned to take Kloe out for a nice lunch, but she insisted on eating at the campus dining hall. He couldn't win the argument, so he agreed. After lunch, with no other plans, they drove back to the hotel and spent the afternoon watching a couple of movies. The day passed in a lazy blur. On Sunday, they woke up early, drove to the Juilliard campus in Manhattan to pick up Isabelle, and then headed to Michael's neighborhood in Brooklyn. Isabelle, now an expert navigator, led them to Michael's front door. Even though she knew the code, she rang the doorbell just in case his parents were there. Michael, who had been lounging on the sofa for 2 days, opened the door. Seeing Wyatt, Isabelle, and Kloe, he quickly invited them in. Wyatt scanned the room. Just you. Michael smiled. My mom just left. Make yourselves at home. I'll get you some water. Before he could take a step, Isabelle shot him a dirty look. Just sit down. I'll get it. It was clear that Michael was still recovering. He looked pale and drained. Michael sat down next to Wyatt and lowered his voice. My mom has given me an ultimatum. They have to meet Isabelle's parents by the end of next year. I'm fine with it, but she'll only be a junior then. Do you think there's any chance she'd take me to meet her parents by then? That depends on your performance. I'm not very confident, Michael sighed. Honestly, at first, I just thought she was pretty and wanted to see where things went. I wasn't thinking long-term, but after spending this much time with her, I've realized I'm really falling for her. You know what I mean? It used to be I just like being with her. Now, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. Wyatt smiled. You should be telling her all of this. Just as Michael was about to reply, Isabelle walked over, and he swallowed his words. Isabelle looked from Michael to Wyatt. What are you two whispering about? You look like a couple of thieves. She handed Michael a glass of water with a cold remedy powder dissolved in it, and gave Wyatt a single bottle of water. Michael frowned. Weren't there a bunch of water bottles left? They're an old married couple, Isabelle retorted. They can share one. It's a waste otherwise. The 3 of them stayed at Michael's for about 2 hours. Just before his mother was scheduled to arrive with food, Wyatt led Isabelle and Kloe out. He found a nearby restaurant and, after they were seated, relayed what Michael had said that morning. Isabelle listened, a smug little smile playing on her lips. Well, I guess he has some conscience after all. But why is he telling you all this? Shouldn't he be telling me? He's a coward, Wyatt laughed. I think you're going to have to be more proactive. Isabelle rolled her eyes. He's the man. You wanted to be proactive. You have to give him an opening. When have I not given him an opening? Last weekend, I saw it was raining and thought it would be romantic to share an umbrella. So, I forgot mine. But when we were walking, I was practically pressed against him, and he still didn't put his arm around me. I've seen clueless guys like Leo, but I didn't think anyone could be more clueless than him. She finished with a sigh. Besides, I've already established my persona. I can't just turn into one of those girls who plays games now. Uh-huh. And what is your persona? The sweet, naive girl. Just like Kloe. Kloe pouted. You're the sweet, naive one. Wyatt didn't want to interfere too much with Michael and Isabelle's relationship. Everyone had their own way of doing things. He could only offer advice. November flew by. As December began, life at the university seemed to accelerate. Professors wrapped up their lectures and highlighted key topics for exams, and students buckled down for a period of intense studying. The only exception was Wyatt. He was completely relaxed. While others were buried in books, he was either sleeping or texting Kloe. Then, in the middle of the month, Ms. Sutton posted the list of Student Excellence Award recipients in the class group chat. Wyatt's name was on it. The class chat immediately erupted. At class president, 6'6", 6'6", 6'6", 6'6" At class president, congrats. At class president, this called for a Venmo giveaway, right? Ethan stared at the list, dumbfounded. In his view, anyone could have gotten the award, but giving it to Wyatt was absurd. A guy who skipped class constantly and had a C average. How did he get a Student Excellence Award? But he could only keep these thoughts to himself now. The name Wyatt Evans was inextricably linked with the business school's reputation. Picking a fight with him was no longer an option. Christmas was on the 25th of this month. Leo had called Wyatt last week to ask about his plans. Wyatt said he didn't have any, so Leo asked if he could borrow the car on Christmas Eve to take Sophie out for a romantic dinner. Wyatt had no reason to refuse and readily agreed. So, on the afternoon of the 24th, Wyatt drove over and handed Leo the keys. After watching Leo drive away with Sophie, Wyatt stood under the girls' dorm, watching the wind whip the bare branches of the trees. For a moment, he had no idea where to go. Kloe stood beside him, following his gaze to a withered leaf that spun a few times before falling to the ground. She slid her hand next to his, and only when he squeezed it tightly did she ask, "Where are we going now?" Wyatt took her small hand and tucked it, along with his own, into the pocket of his down jacket. He smiled. "With you, anywhere is fine." "Me too." They walked along the sidewalk toward the campus gate, talking about the trivial things that had happened that week. It was all just small stuff, but whoever was speaking, the other listened intently. Outside the gate, the streets were alive with a festive energy. Seeing a vendor selling roasted sweet potatoes, they walked over. "2 roasted sweet potatoes, please. The sweet kind." The vendor quickly bagged 2 potatoes and handed them to Kloe. Wyatt paid with his phone. Kloe compared the two, then handed the larger one to Wyatt. He took it and asked with a smile, "If you eat this, will you still have room for dinner?" "Nope. This is our dinner. It's Christmas Eve. Leo is taking Sophie out for a candlelit dinner, and all I'm getting you is a sweet potato. You're too easy to please." Kloe broke the potato in half, watching the steam rise. She took a careful bite, glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then looked up at him with a grin. "Then say it again, that you love me." "I love you." "How much?" "More than yesterday, and less than tomorrow."